Good morning and welcome to the AM show. And thank God it's Friday. I hope your week is off to a great end. Today on the show, of course, we'll start with the news. And after that, Professor Mohammed Khalid will be joining us for the newspaper review segment. After that, Muftar Nabil Abdullahi will be here bringing you the latest updates from the world of sports. And then Benjamin Akakbo is coming your way with his blunt thoughts, as he does on every Friday on the show. SSNIT, SML and ghosts. The interesting case of the circus called Ghana. That's the title of Benjamin Akakbo's blunt thoughts. You want to stay for that. After that, we pivot into our big stories. Now, this morning, we have a conversation with Dr. Dacosta Boaje, the Chief Executive Officer of National Health Insurance Scheme, live in the studio to tell us all you want to know with the scheme. So you want to stay for that belt as well. Also on the show, Finance Minister Dr. Amin Adam updates the nation on the state of the economy. We will take you there live. So welcome aboard the AM show. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and of course I do this with Benjamin Akakbo. Join us for the rest of the show with your comments and your thoughts, either via phone or across all social media platforms. Welcome. The AM News with me, Sweetie Aboshi, starting with the opposition NDC is sounding the alarm over an alleged scheme to jail minority leader Dr. Cassiel Ato Forson at all costs. In court on Thursday, the third accused person, businessman Richard Jakpa, alleged under cross-examination that Attorney General Godfrey Dame has been reaching out to him to incriminate the minority leader Dr. Cassiel Forson. Now, the NDC has been reacting furiously to this.
A scandal that just happened in the case of Honorable Ato Forson versus the Republic and other accused persons. As you may be aware, our minority leader and Member of Parliament for Ejumaku Enyan Isiam, the Honorable Dr. Ato Forson, who served as Deputy Minister under the ex-Wal NDC Mahama government, is standing prosecution for his role in the procurement of some ambulances by the then government. We've always maintained, as far as this matter is concerned, that we don't believe that the Akufo-Addo Bawumia NPP government is up to ensure that justice is done in this matter, and that this is a clear case of persecution and not prosecution. And we have times without number explained why we think that Honorable Ato Forson is innocent and that this whole case is needless. Now, the matter has been before the courts. Various witnesses have been called. The minority leader himself has opened his case and closed his case. Currently, the third accused is being cross-examined by lawyers for the minority leader, who is the first accused. And today, cross-examination was done by our own Director Legal, Eduji Tamaklo. So we're all in court to monitor the proceedings. But we were shocked to the marrow when the third accused, under cross-examination, disclosed to the courts that the Honorable Attorney General has been reaching out to him, calling him over the phone, and that he has met with him in person, and that the Attorney General has been asking him to give false testimony to the courts and skew his testimony in such a way that corroborates the case of the Attorney General against the first accused, so that the first accused can be convicted and jailed. He said this in open courts and asked that it should be put on record. And her ladyship also directed that same should be captured by the record. And so what we are talking about is something which is on record. And we as a political party are totally scandalized and disgusted by this development. We are not surprised because we've always known that this is a stock in trade of Godfrey Yeboah-Dame.
Meanwhile, State Attorney and the spokesperson for the Attorney General's Department, Isaac Wilberforce-Mensah, has denied the allegation, saying it's much ado about nothing. He spoke on Joy FM's Top Story.
if indeed what happened in court indeed happened, the question is, has any wrongdoing been done? That is the question. Has the Attorney General acted lawfully? If indeed he acted in the way that he is being or is being told in the media that he acted, has he acted unlawfully? The answer is no. If you look at the law, does the law permit prosecution to speak to an accused person
Wilberforce,
in the middle of a criminal trial?
Wilberforce, if the Attorney General himself is coercing a witness to make a case against someone is prosecuting.
That is not true. That has been
how do you then answer that he's done nothing wrong?
Has not coerced anybody to make a case against anyone. The Attorney General himself has denied emphatically that he has not asked anybody to make any false testimony against anyone. Remember, the Attorney General is not even the judge. There's a judge in the matter. And there are lawyers for the accused person also in this matter. If a false statement has been made, can the lawyers even cross-examine on that false statement? All this is more or less much ado about nothing.
In other stories, radiation oncologists at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital say they are being forced to place women living with cervical cancer on long waiting lists because there are only 2 radiotherapy machines serving the thousands of patients suffering from the terminal disease. Approximately 3,000 cases of cervical cancer are diagnosed annually in Ghana. Joy News' Adobe Asari was at a forum organized by Meg Sharp and Dome to promote education on a disease and reports it can take a cervical patient at least 3 months to be placed on a radiotherapy machine.
Cases of cervical cancer are diagnosed in Ghana each year, with 60% of affected patients dying from the disease. This high mortality rate is largely attributed to a lack of knowledge about the prevention, early detection, and insufficient human papillomavirus (HPV) vaccination coverage. Speaking at a dialogue organized by Meg Sharp and Dome MSD on cervical cancer awareness, specialist radiation oncologist at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Mary Ann Dadzie, lamented over the inadequate radiotherapy machines available at the facility. She said the situation is not only putting pressure on the existing machines, but it's leading to the death of many women who are placed on long waiting time before they are treated.
So there are 2 government radiotherapy centers in the whole country, one in Kumasi, another in Accra. They were established in 2000 for 20 million people, and we are 34 million now. And it's still those 2 centers with 2 machines. It's terrible. Now, the waiting time to get onto the machine is about 3 months. Yes. That's a waiting time to get onto the machine. And the machine is breaking down every now and then. If you have money, you can go to the private center. But how many people can afford $3,000 or $4,000 for just the radiotherapy? So they wait, and sometimes when it's time for treatment, you call them, oh, the woman is dead. You call, is dead. We call them and they come in with metastasis all over. It's too late.
In Ghana, around 1,800 women die from cervical cancer each year. This high mortality rate is primarily due to the lack of vaccination, delayed detection, and insufficient awareness about the disease. Managing Director of MSD, Dr. Zweli Bashman, said, addressing these gaps is crucial to reducing the impact of cervical cancer on Ghanaian women.
I think it's important that as a healthcare fraternity, we focus on this. It is the #1 sort of cancer that, you know, with the highest level of mortality on the continent. I can safely say that awareness levels are not where they need to be. And that's part of the work that we need to do. Ours is not just to work on the research, development, and manufacturing, but we need to create an ecosystem that is accepting of these healthcare interventions. So we spend a lot of our time and effort doing community social mobilization work, healthcare practitioner as well as healthcare consumer education. We work with religious bodies in terms of providing them with education. We work with, cultural leaders, providing them with education and information.
Addressing the issue of vaccination, Program Manager of the Extended Program on Immunization, Dr. Kobina Amponsa Achiano, noted that intervention is underway to start a HPV vaccination by October 2025.
Fortunately, the minister commissioned the National Immunization Technical Advisory Group to advise it. And the group advised the minister effectively. So fast forward, April this year, we put in an application to Gavi, which is undergoing screening. And so hopefully by October 2025, we should be starting Ghana's program on HPV.
By raising awareness and improving access to preventive measures and early detection, the MSD, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and other stakeholders, aim to significantly reduce the impact of cervical cancer in Ghana and Africa in general.
Still on health, nurses and midwives in the Bono East region have been urged to improve their customer care as part of efforts aimed at helping patients cope with their recoveries. This call was made by the Deputy Regional Director in charge of clinical care, Helen Agbojo, at a brief program in Kintampo to mark the 2024 Nurses and Midwives Week. Correspondent Anna Sabit has more in this report.
The week-long celebrations marked around the world is mainly to acknowledge the compassion, professionalism and round-the-clock commitment of nurses and midwives caring for patients in the public health system. Chief Nursing and Midwifery Officer for Bono East Region, Ms. Joyce Ishen, who was speaking on the sidelines of a brief program held in Kintampo, underscored the significance of the work nurses and midwives do across the Bono East enclave.
It's very important. Looking at the theme for this year, our nurses and midwives, our future, the economic power of care. This theme throws more light. It focuses on the in-depth analysis of what nurses and midwives are doing in the region. And also, when you look at it, it also gives us the investment that nurses and midwives deserve. We have to invest in them. We have to see them as an investment, not a cost. So we plan that we have to celebrate our nurses and midwives so that they can do more.
Ms. Joyce Ishen, however, bemoaned the equity index of nurses in the area and was quick to add that the high number of females in the nursing profession goes a long way to affect the efficiency of nurses across the area.
The equity, when you talk of equity, in some areas we have more, in some areas they are not willing to go because of one or two reasons. So it's not encouraging at all. And as I said earlier on, looking at the nursing population, you realize that about 76% of us are females and the rest are males. And they are also in their reproductive stage, average age of 35 years. So they are reproducing, they are giving birth. And when a nurse is pregnant, it means that nurse cannot run the normal shift for 1 year, 9 months. Why am I saying this? Because the person is pregnant, the person is not going on night duties. So if you don't have enough nurses to run the night for you, those who are not pregnant, who haven't delivered, to run the night program for you, it becomes a challenge.
Deputy Regional Director in charge of clinical care, Ms. Helen Agbojo, was thankful to the nurses for their sacrifices over the years, but was quick to appeal to them to improve their customer care. A move, she said, would help enhance the health of the patients they attend to.
The week as a whole means a lot for us. We want to use it as an opportunity to celebrate our very hard-working nurses. Aside appreciating them and congratulating them, we also need to, express some of the areas or the desires that we think they need to improve upon in the healthcare system. One for me is the customer care, which I will always speak about, the need for us to accept people, to treat people with a lot of respect and dignity. A little smile for a patient, it goes a long way to help them. And so much as they are doing well, we want them to open their teeth and be nicer to the people who come to them on a daily basis. A little help here and there, more than they are doing. We are not saying they are not, they are actually doing very, very well, but we just want to encourage them to do better for humanity.
The 2024 Nurses and Midwives Week was observed under the theme, Our Nurses and Midwives, the Economic Power of Care. Anna Sabit, Joy News, Kintampo.
According to research, traditional farming methods often produce harmful pollutants that contribute to climate change. Maize and rice farming have particularly been implicated in the release of harmful gases into the atmosphere. The Crops Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research is therefore exploring various agricultural technologies to combat this menace through the Agroecology and Circular Economy for Ecosystem Services project.
The ACE 4 years project seeks to explore innovative techniques that can reduce these pollutants while improving the health of the soil and the crops. As part of the project objectives, scientists will try out different methods of farming, such as crop livestock system, integrated soil fertility management, composting, biochar application, site-specific nitrogen management, rotational cropping, among others, to see which ones work best for the environment and for farmers. The scientists will then build the capacity of farmers and policymakers on these technologies. Speaking at the project launch, the project coordinator, Dr. Kwaku Asante, was hopeful that adoption of these technologies will lead to better farming outcomes.
The key objectives are to assess the effectiveness of agroecology and circular economy technologies in reducing short-lived climate pollutants emission from agricultural fields, and then to develop and validate ACE practices tailored towards agroecological zones, focusing on maize and rice production systems.
The director of Crops Research Institute, Professor Moses Mucha, touted the institute's quest to pursue initiatives aimed at combating climate change.
As the lead institution for this project, we are deeply honored to spearhead efforts aimed at integrating agroecology and circular economics principles into maize and rice production systems.
Director General of the CSIR, Professor Paul Busu, was also grateful to the stakeholders for the realization of the project and asked for their commitment towards achieving the goals of the project.
Agroecology and circular economy principles, we are embarking on a journey towards sustainable and resilient food systems. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to all the partners and stakeholders who have contributed to the development and implementation of this project. Your dedication and collaboration have been instrumental in bringing us to this point.
Minister of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Mrs. Ophelia Mensah-Hayford, pledged the government's support and urged the Council to intensify communication and advocacy of their activities. Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Now, school trunks are every boarding student's treasure box. They are symbols of organization, security, and a home away from home. But have you ever wondered about the hands that craft these essential items? Well, Joy Prime's Florence Ahogbade caught up with 23-year-old Justice Kwesi Arthur Jr., who inherited the art of trunk manufacturing from his father. Here's a report.
I found myself here in Palladium, where craftsmanship runs deep in the veins of the community. Today I will dive into the age-old tradition of trunk manufacturing, where skills are passed on from generation to generation. Come along.
In the lives of boarding students, trunks are more than just storage containers. For students, a trunk is like a treasure box. It has nearly everything: books, clothes, and other personal effects. In the trunk, students learn how to organize stuff. Meet Justice, a 23-year-old man who learned the trunk-making business from his father. From a young age, Justice has been immersed in the essential pieces for students.
For the trunk business, that's my dad's occupation. So growing up as a kid, I'll follow him here on weekends. Then he'll be like, oh, Justice, do this for me, do this for me, do this for me. Then I'll do it. So I was with him learning alongside. So after junior high, that's when I came to work with him. I'll follow him every day, come and work with him. Yeah. So even when I go to school as an SHS, when I vacate, when I come back, still be with him. Then after SHS, that's how I got into it. We get a material from the market, that's timber market. That's blue. We get it, buy, then we straight the plate, we mark it. We have a pattern, already made pattern. So we put it on it, mark it, cut it. Then we start molding. So we mold, then they wet, then we come and cover, then they grind it. The boys grind it, then they spray, and we wrap it.
Making trunks is not merely a business. In every box, he builds and welds on his father's legacy with pride. The demand for trunks is especially high during the back-to-school rush, with Justice selling up to 50 trunks a day.
Yeah, so they'll come here, you see them, even if you are far, you see them here, it's like, see them walking here about, playing to people with their mothers, coming in and out, but like it's very busy over here. During that period, we can sell a lot. So generally my dad can sell approximately 70, 80 in a day. If you say you are waiting till that period before you start making, the period will pass and like you're still not finished.
Metal trunks are known for their durability and are preferred over wooden alternatives like chop boxes.
If we don't make the trunks, they don't go to school. I went to boarding school, so I know how it is. People can, with the chop box, people can just break the under. It's just nails. So we just remove the under and then you lift it, then take your things. But with trunks, how it is made, you can't open somewhere, it has been even welded. So it's hard to break in.
Despite studying cinematography, Justice sees the trunk making business as a stepping stone to realizing his dreams.
I'm a cinematographer. The plan is gather money here, then invest into my cinematography dreams.
For Justice, there's no shame in his job. Trunk making is a tradition, a decent source of livelihood, and a passion. Florence Ahodagbe for Joy Prime.
Coming up is Business Update.
Well, thank you for staying. Now in our first story. The Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors is upbeat about operating at full capacity following the decision by the Tanker Drivers Union to resume work after embarking on a sit-down strike. The tanker drivers yesterday resolved to call off their strike after engaging in a series of meetings with the NPA, OMCs, among other key stakeholders, to drum home their demands of remuneration and conditions of service. Now, reacting to the development, the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, Dr. Patrick Kwekwofori, stated that the resumption would enable their members to sell their products expeditiously without hindrance. He spoke to Joy Business.
On our part, as a chamber, we are also discussing with our terminals to work extended hours from tomorrow as soon as the drivers meet their people and they are able to communicate to the general public that they call up their strike. Once they do that, we are committed to ensure that we work extended hours from tomorrow to the end of the month, and then even Saturday and Sunday, so that every part of the country can receive product to avert any potential shortage, which will also help create woolage so that the vessels and the BDCs who have got products at anchorage can also reduce their burden of demurrage.
Now, in our second story, the Minister for Trade and Industry, Katie Hammond, has reaffirmed government's commitment to invest in entrepreneurs in the country. The minister says his outfit will harness the efforts of micro, small and medium-sized businesses to promote Ghanaian products and services in foreign markets through Ghana's diplomatic missions abroad. He was speaking at the opening ceremony for the third Made in Ghana Bazaar, organized by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration.
After staying off for 3 years due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 in 2020, the ministry has bounced back with more interesting exhibitions from participating exhibitors. The 3-day event, which is expected to be climaxed on Saturday, May 25, 2024, involves a variety of activities with the opening ceremony beginning on Thursday. Minister of Trade and Industry called on SMEs to be resilient.
Our responsibility to continually facilitate improvement in the business environment. So government would ensure that framework conditions for doing business with ease exist, and thereby facilitating your continued success, keeping local production and supply chains efficient and sustainable for manufacturers. It's in keeping with this that I have promised to get the business regulatory reforms bill.
Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Mavis Nkansa-Boadu, said the bazaar is to utilize diplomatic missions to facilitate the entry of Ghanaian products into foreign markets while strengthening relationship between local industries and foreign partners.
As it is strategically designed to harness the innovativeness efforts of our micro, small, and medium-sized businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, the goal of the bazaar is therefore to facilitate the penetration of Ghanaian products and services into the foreign market through the network of Ghana's mission abroad and diplomatic missions accredited to Ghana, which will invaluably support the growth of our SMEs and provide them with the needed impetus to expand their reach into markets, including the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Some SMEs were delighted for the resumption of the bazaar.
I think putting us on the map, visibility such as this is very key. Getting out there, knowing about the brand to others, key stakeholders, partnering with ministries, Ministry of Finance and Trade and Industry. Example, having this fair, for example, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs having this Made in Ghana Bazaar is a very good opportunity. And a company like mine, which is located in Malaysia and registered in Malaysia as well as Ghana, this is a very good opportunity for me to showcase the products as the founder and CEO of the brand.
The event is under the theme Promoting Made in Ghana Goods and Services for Economic Prosperity.
And that's how we put a full stop to our business update for today. Thank you for allowing me to serve you. Back to you, Sweetie Abochi.
Yes, Benjamin, bringing us to the end of the bulletin for the AM News. Newspaper Review segment is up next. See you in a jiffy.
Thank you for staying with us. Time now for the news review. And before we introduce our guest, Sweetie Abochi, a.k.a. Mary Poppins, joining me in the studio. You're looking, I like the look today.
Like Mary Poppins.
You're popping like Mary Poppins. Yeah,
but it's good to see you.
White Roman sandals, sort of.
Fortunately, they can't see.
A dress with frills and all of that. And then, what do you call it? Is that embroidery or something? The one in front? The lace? Lace?
I think it's lace. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
By
What the old brush out?
Odame Fashion. She did this beautiful dress for me with Woodine fabric. So thank you, Woodine. Thank you, Odame Fashion. Eunice, thank you so much.
You are not the only one, because today my shirt, my trouser, what I say, it's from Elikem Kumoji.
Yes.
Yeah, the tailor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he decided, oh, my brother, let me fit you out for this Friday. So I had to rep for the team.
You're
what I say. Oh, yes. And that is why I'm going to give him a shout, because I looked at myself and I said, Papa, what I say, we try me, you just reach out to him in Jowlu near the Bayera Junction. You can reach out to him on social media, Elikem Kumoji _ the tailor. A phone number to look at 0550 171 171. 0550 171 171. But before we get our guest in, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helping us bring you this segment every weekday. And here's what they're offering you. If you're a man, prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. All you have to do, reach out to them at any of their branches across Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswe and Siamanzama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. And if you realize that we have all of a sudden an apparition in black, then it will tell you that we can do magic with our cameras.
Yeah.
Joining us in the studio, would you like to do the introduction? Professor Khalid.
Professor, I don't know why I keep calling you doctor.
Well, like whichever is any fine.
Professor Khalid, yeah. Welcome to the studio.
Yeah, thank you.
All black today.
Well,
a specific occasion?
No, just well, I didn't have anyone to clothe me, so I had to do it myself. You are very lucky today. I wish I were your shoes. The perks of a media job, is it?
The perks of your job too are there. So let's play safe.
Let's tell them that they should
this morning,
get your guests fixed also next time.
Yeah. You know, interestingly, just a few seconds ago, I went to the lavatory and a song came to mind on the back of some of the issues we have to deal with. Do you remember that one by Kwame Yogurt and Kwame Eugene? Actually, is it Kwame Yogurt?
Say Kwame Yogurt?
Is it what's his other name? is it Kwame or Kofi? Okay. Kwame Eugene confused me. So Kwame Eugene, right? I think it's Kwame Yogurt.
What's the song then?
Oh, you remember the chorus? BBBC.
Oh.
BBBC. BBBC.
Okay.
But if you look at some of the headlines, them go bow them our heads. So see about then go see.
Before we get into the papers, let's give Professor Khalid his minutes to get into the issue of national interest.
Don't you want to join the song?
Well, I wish I could, but not my genre.
If you follow him, he's crazy.
I know.
Anyway.
I'm hedging myself.
Okay. So you have your minute. I don't know what you're going to be talking about because it's a basket of issues we could look at.
I know. I'm just looking at the AG's issue. That's a screaming banner headline. I don't know why it has to be a response of AG fires NDC. And I think that sometimes these sensational headlines in and of themselves don't even help the public officers. But you also understand that it looks like a fight back from the office of the Attorney General. And I've been one of the ardent critics of this very current Attorney General in how I just think that it's a very sensitive office. He's probably maybe one of the youngest to have taken up this role. And how you handle it is very important. And it's a very delicate line. And looking at issues of SAL, looking at issues of Jachi Kwesing, the transmission of the LGTB plus bill and all of these things, I think that his temperament has not been one very reflective of an office that is anchored on running multiple parties within a democracy. And I think that is something he ought to have a sober reflection.
Do you feel others before him have been much better? Because, let's face it. as of this time, that is why many people have called for a decoupling of the Attorney General's office from the Minister of Justice, where the AG can represent government as a political figure, so to speak. Because let's not pretend. I mean, these AGs from time immemorial have been
what I'm trying to say political. Is that we've seen Joe.
Then you have a Minister of Justice.
We've seen Joe Gate, we've seen Martin Amidus, we've seen the likes of Betty Moles and all of those who were political appointees of political parties, different, you know.
But you know that in respect of anything, some will definitely be more than others.
Yeah, but they were not in this firefighting mode and in this sort of like, for want of a better word, brazen approach to issues of national interest. Right, but I mean, everything would be partisan to an extent. Even the Speaker of Parliament, as you'd see, it's politically appointed. So the decoupling is neither here nor there. I think that we as public servants, when you ascend the throne, should have sober reflections and know that, look, this office I'm holding is once sensitive. I've got my interest, which is like my political party's interest, but the national interest runs supreme. Even if we still decouple it and we put people of such caliber in these places, we'll still have some of these.
So it's actually because of this story.
The AG's office?
No, it's not just the AG's.
No,
it's become
every political institution or government institution that's supposed to be independent. They're not.
Yeah, but you know the point is, why I'm so particular about the office of the AG and the Minister of Justice is that you are the people's lawyer. If you don't know, apart from being the president's lawyer, you are the people's lawyer. Yeah. If you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah. And that's why I was saying BBs. And some things that are... Okay, so let me just put it this way. We are hearing certain things, but let's assume, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with what the NDC has done now, some also say it's an attempt to just... Because, you know, in recent times, the judge sitting on the case said she wouldn't want it to be prolonged beyond a certain... Because once they enter the political season and all of that. For me, that also made me reflect on certain things.
Yeah.
What do you think would happen if the minority leader, Dr. Cassiel Ato-Forson, were found complicit and put in the cooler?
Well, it's something I've not thought of.
Simmer down.
Yeah, it's something I've not thought of. And with a little legal background I may have, looking at the issues, I don't see that he's going to go anywhere.
But you're not a judge.
Yeah, I'm not a judge.
You know, a lot of times, I mean, this is the court of public opinion. A lot of the time. The justices of the courts. And then again, you know, sometimes there's a bit of... it's like being in an enclosure, a pen. Sometimes the dictates of the law, how it has been framed, even some of the penalties for Obi Komodeno, you know, those petty crimes versus...
Fontaine and all of those people, and, you know, you have...
Judges are constrained. They are within a certain box because it's what the criminal code says and what the penal code says. What is the just punishment for X? And they go using some discretion. I'm just saying that...
No, the point is...
What we may sit here and say may not necessarily be, but...
but I think
just like to work
any judge, wet his or herself, would have to make a lot of policy decisions in taking a final verdict on this matter, in the sense that, you know, 5 months or 4 months to an election is heated, and is the leader of an opposition party, in quotes, in the sense that you are a minority leader in parliament. So I think that the judge ought to really measure the temperature of the country.
It would be a never-before-seen event. But, Sweetie, before we get into the papers, apart from being a never-before-seen scene in this Fourth Republic, it would send quite a message, wouldn't it? And again, one thought that is curious for me, this issue, just like many others, has dragged for a long time. The question is, if we are coming to the end of it, why now in an election year? Do you get it?
I know I get it.
If we feel, and again, when you go to the Airbus issue and all of that, I keep saying, you know, it's almost like every electoral year, it comes up.
No, but why
if people are, go ahead.
No, but again, why do we keep bringing up all of these issues? Again, and with the political motivations that come with that, you talk about an issue of interest, which is Airbus. I mean, if you have like state prosecutors in the UK saying that people have not committed any crime, yet we say they have.
I'm just saying that it comes up every electoral cycle.
So
and I'm saying if someone is culpable, go ahead and deal with them regardless of the year.
That tells you the political motivation behind these sort of cases. And the mad people seek to throw.
With Dr. Kathleen.
Adi.
Adi.
Yeah,
and
Kathleen Adi, yeah.
Politicians think in 4 years, right?
Wow.
So that's the answer to your question. Why it only comes up in electoral years? Because they think in 4 years.
It's not thinking. I just think it's a motivation.
Yeah.
Right? Why are you bringing an issue that is dead and gone or buried? Right?
Because
so,
you need to win points or, let someone lose points.
Or probably bring it to the court of public opinion, sketch issues, conjecture, and all of these issues to come in. When they've had 8 years to deal with the issues.
So,
I'll start with the Daily Graphic. On the front page, government Tullow signed emissions reduction purchase agreement. Our partner TUC for better workers' salaries. That is New Force Movement's founder, Alan Tremanting. Ghana cedi depreciation bites hard. Businesses call for urgent interventions. I do not know why this issue has been consistent. It's not something that came up in the past 4 years. Decades ago, we always have dollar Ghana cedi issues. So why haven't we been able to put out some policy framework that arrests this issue, nip it in the bud? It keeps coming up.
So just before, I know you're eager to react, but 2 points. Professor Steve Hank has been talking about, he spoke about a currency board.
Yeah.
Recently, the IEA also spoke about, look, the way things are going, Ghana needs a currency board. We've had this discussion before. What is your take? Secondly, others have gone as far as saying, if we're going to control the slump of our currency, we should dollarize our economy.
De-dollarize or dollarize?
Dollarize the economy. In other words, seed and then use the dollar. What do you think about those two prospects? Currency board, dollarizing.
Well, I think with the currency board issue, we can argue till the cows come home, because I know that Professor Steve Hanke has his own personal interest when it comes to issues of promoting currency boards.
Take away the interest, the reality.
Take away the interest. I don't see much of that when we have a central bank and we have a monetary policy unit, right? And for that matter, we have a board also, and then we have a team that checks out monetary policy. What we do have is a very grey economy. And by grey economy, I mean that strands of it. I was just having a conversation with a friend that I went like, okay, well, the dollar is almost 16 now, but it looks like the black market may drag it to 17, right? And how are they going to do this? They are hoarding. You have city today, you want to buy dollars. It's becoming a problem because, they want to take it to a certain limit and then throw their money back in to really get what they want. So if we don't have full control over these things, what would the currency board do? You get me? Because a lot of issues are happening that are not captured into the formal stream.
Right.
So
the lack of formalization will make it...
Again, you look at
it for ineffective?
For instance, like in other jurisdiction, a $100 bill, a £50 bill, right? It's very scrutinized. But here in Ghana, I got the rudest shock of my life when I was having my first cash dollar transaction. So I had like change from several travels and decided to use them for a transaction. So when I went in, the guy was like, okay, well, $20 bills, the rate for which is lower than you do for a $50 and a $100 bill. And that was the first time I was hearing that. But this is a gray or informal market controlling.
In fact, even the big dollar versus the smaller dollar.
So I made a phone call.
It's a different...
Yeah, I made a phone call to a few friends. They're like, you're new to the market. This is what we do in this town.
They're selling it. So, I mean, the rates are different.
No, but, I mean, why would denominations be an issue?
Like you said, we don't have full control.
Over this. So I don't know what the board would do, actually. So they have to come a time where we can have real full control over these things. And the central bank actually checking these forex bureaus and those that are changing monies within the forex market to ensure that we're able to do all of these things. But dollarization of the market, why would you want to cede your sovereign currency and adopt someone else's currency?
I mean, I bring it up because I am not for it. I feel we must maintain but these are things that have been thrown out there, and that is your space. So
if we're talking about de-dollarization, then we can have it.
Can we de-dollarize?
Our economy is...
Well, one of the steps,
right? I think we do not use the cedi to buy any of these fuel, I mean, all the natural resources.
Don't even go there. That's because of the international. That's because of the international system. No, because we've had Russia now saying that it's wanted to pay back. You remember when the Russia-Ukraine thing started? It wanted to pay back in rubles and all of that.
And they said
no. But I mean, if you contract a deal, you get equity in dollars. You don't expect to pay me back in any other currency that I may deem weaker. But I feel where the problem lies.
Currency.
If you're going to purchase a property and it's astronomical. Yesterday I was somewhere and people are talking about prime property in the United States.
Yeah.
Vast land and all of that going for about $800,000. Yet in Ghana, go for a small in East Legon. They'll tell you 1
No, but this is what I'm coming. Look, the tools,
those are the problems.
The tools to inform these don't exist. So, for instance, what goes into a housing market, right? Amenities, schools, roads, and all of that. They bring up the price of a property.
Right.
In this town now, it's because a minister lives next door. It's because a certain chief lives within the locality. So we have to learn to bring development to these places and to have indexes within which we can use to say, okay, well, this is benchmark at this. This is a control we can have. For instance, I was speaking to a friend from Belgium who was telling me, look, rent prices, he's lived there for probably 7-8 years, and rent prices haven't gone up since his time. And I said, okay, how do you do this? He said, look, the rates are indexed, right? So even landlords can go beyond that limit.
I mean, if you look at even the fallback of inflation in recent times in the UK, and the mechanisms they put in place, it's still a bit high. It's still higher than projections, but it's quite a sharp, because of some of these
controls,
you are talking about.
All right.
Gas, fuel, among other
Let's
things.
get back into the papers. We've delved into that story, obviously, talking about businesses bearing the brunt of, the cedi depreciation. I want to do the story on page 30 of the Daily Graphic. We've delved into this on all our bulletins. SML did not pay 13.38 million Ghana cedis VAT, according to the KPMG report. Now, accounting firm KPMG has observed in its report commissioned by President Nana Akufo-Addo in the contract between Ghana Revenue Authority and Strategic Mobilization Ghana, Limited Ghana, SML, did not pay VAT worth 13.38 million Ghana cedis. The report indicated no deductions of value-added tax by GRA for 8 months on payment. That's between September 1st, 2020 and April 30th, 2021. A bulk payment to SML covering 8-month invoices did not have VAT and withholding tax reductions amounting to 13.38 million Ghana cedis. And this is the GRA.
City appears very passionate.
This
passionate on this SML issue.
It can't be an oversight.
No.
GRA is taxing. I know comedians, artists who go on stage to perform, and GRA officials are standing there ready to take tax from them because you paid for a venue. And
They've been talking about taxing creatives now, and you see, the interesting thing is you've been taxing from source, right? Because you taxed before, then all of a sudden you stop taxing. But I mean,
no, but the point is they awarded this contract, remember?
No, I'm saying that they're taxing from source. Some of us, when your salary comes and all of that, there are deductions that are made before they come to you. So if all of a sudden you are not making the deductions, I will be asking myself what.
So it just tells you the rot around SML deal, and I don't even know why.
But they could have forgotten.
No, Benjamin.
They forgot.
I mean, the GRA
They should come out and tell us that.
No, what the point is, for an institution that is struggling to meet its targets, would forget such a colossal sum of money. It's an
you do know I'm joking, right?
I know, but I'm just trying to make your joke much more holding.
I want to do 2 more stories and I'll hand over to you, gentlemen. Talo, government signed emissions reduction purchase agreements. GCB Bank to transform cashew sector. I know Benjamin has been waxing lyrical about how cashew could overtake the cocoa sector.
Give me money. I'll go into cashew farming.
Promoting peaceful elections through dialogue. Of course, Kathleen Adi, the chairperson of the NCC, is doing some media rounds talking about how Ghana must win the elections and not any political party. If they put cutlasses and machetes and guns in your hands, they don't value your life. Some quick headlines. Child among 9 dead at Mexico election rally. Shortage of bento. Ghana's day of shame. Shortage of bentoa. That's an interesting story. I just want to do that and I'll pass it over to
Edema balls.
So for any employer, the value of what? I thought it's a Bob Strange Syringe bulb?
I know it's edema too.
Edema, right.
It's got interesting names.
Yeah. How do we get a shortage of Bentoa? So for any employer, the value of employees' job is determined first and foremost by the markets for the company's goods or services. So why are Ghanaians paying premium remuneration to its democracy elites if all that democracy produces are talkers? What relative economic and social benefits is there in paying Article 71 office holders the amount of money we put in their pockets every month? In addition I wish I could get into this story, but it's a long one. So get the newspaper and get it for yourself. But do you know I have a phobia for Bentoa?
Oh, interesting.
Anyway,
I mean, but
let's get into your.
You got scandalized as a child, or?
You know what I'm
let's
thinking?
Not get into this.
No, you know what I'm thinking?
Please, let's not.
No, you know what I'm thinking?
What?
Maybe, it's made of, it's a plastic product, right? So all this doom saw and high, it could be an impact, interestingly, right? Because what would have occasioned that?
I think it's a demand and supply.
It's a demand and supply.
We don't need it. There's no need for Bentoa.
With all the herbal medications that are being sold in trotro stations, you think we still don't need that?
It was a lot more common when some of us were growing up, and maybe when you were growing up, when others were growing up. I don't think it's that fancy. It's not in vogue that much. Yeah. But I think you can't sit in Accra and also because go to the rural areas. Yeah. That is where you will really see. But in a lot of different parts of the country,
biased if we say
it's no longer as
I think
back in the day when they will catch you.
I think that we might have
run for your life.
We might have outgrown it, right? And without seeing the reality of it,
we did not carry it on.
We did not carry it on. But I think that there's probably still a good number of people that, for me, with my gauge of it is the amount of herbal medication that is still dispensed out there.
And one drug can fix hundreds of problems.
So
what do you have in your paper?
Let's
it talks about all set for the CD mortgage. I think that's making really a big story around. And, for me, when we talk about mortgages and the risks around mortgages, I just don't think the dollar is just one factor of it. So, de-dollarizing the mortgage market in Ghana is, in and of itself, is still not a solution to what it is. Rates are very important. I mean, interest rates or rates at these banks. What determines the rates, right? In terms of allocation of mortgage price, in terms of the risk. Let's say, okay, if one were to get a property in Cantonments and someone is getting a property in Kaswa, is there going to be a difference? Is this difference going to be significant? So I think that, we need to be more, it's a step in the right direction, I would say, because the CD is more probably stable, right? When I say stable, unlike the dollar, that if you peg against it and you're a CD earner, you are converting your CD into dollars to be servicing these mortgages. And that's where most often than not these problems do come in. But it's a step in the right direction, trying to use mortgages to actually bridge our housing deficit. It is, but I don't know how many people would be in a position to afford that. Benjamin and Sweetie, do you have mortgages? Or are you looking forward to having
upon advice of my counsel, I plead the fifth. But Upon seems to be doing some work with the...
I will not plead the fifth. I don't.
No, but I mean, look, this is what I've always said about mortgages, right? Government needs to step in to actually help the mortgage market. I've always given this classic example of like teachers, nurses. Let's say someone is done with teacher training college or nursing training college at age 18, and the government puts them on a mortgage, or a government mortgage, supports mortgage. That's probably a 2-bed apartment, ranging from maybe 1 bed, 2 bed to about maximum of 3 bed, with a rate, affordable rate of, let's say even the highest they could go is probably 18%. Right. By 40, 50, they are homeowners, if you ask me.
That's a system these
right. So I think that is something.
I mean, it's not the easiest thing owning a house.
Yeah, what I'm meaning is that
US or other places, but the mechanisms are there.
Yeah, if the government steps in this way, what it means is that there's going to be competition between the government mortgage market and that of the private sector.
Right.
When that happens, you not have the private sector taking advantage with astronomical rates. They will be benchmarking against the government rates and all of those.
Landlords will be put out of business because they cannot be taking 2 years advance for rent.
Not put out of the business. They'll be whipped into line.
Whipped into line. I like that. That's a bit.
So I think that there's a lot more. There should be a big discussion about this, especially. I mean, I always say one of the biggest attractions of corruption in this country is homes. because people want to own homes.
Well,
people want to have houses when their earnings can meet that. How is the government going to step in to help that? Because I'm 40, 50, get close to retirement, and I don't have my own home to boast of. I'm still probably living in a government bungalow or probably renting. So there's that desperation to actually fix that. Then you tend, if they have loopholes within their workplaces, the public sector, then they tend to exploit that to actually check a good number of the corruption cases. It's all, most are trying to own homes.
Housing,
and the likes. And this is something government really needs to look at critically. And as you said, what happened to the affordable housing scheme? What's happening, Benjamin?
You'd have to ask those in the sector and maybe speak to Kojo Oponkwuma. But let me wrap with just a few stories from here. We've dealt with most of them. AG fires NDC. I'm not persecuting Ato Forson, he says. Samira to launch World Share Expo 2024. No VAT deductions on SML payments, KPMG. And those are the bits. You know, I've got to the point where...
It doesn't look good on GRE, to be honest.
No, it's not even about the GRE. Practically, very little surprises me anymore in Ghana. Like, I've got to the point where, one day she hit me, you know, give it to me. What he has
but you know, but you see, Benjamin, the whole idea of this, this is a report that was sort of classified in a way because the presidency was tight-lipped on actually releasing its content.
I spoke to
all of a sudden,
the chairman of the NDC yesterday.
Changed? Yeah.
No, but there are two things. I spoke to the chairman of the NDC yesterday, and he said that actually it was released only because, you know, recently the minority leader, together with some of the leadership of the minority, were at the Jubilee House.
Yes.
Because at the president's request that, listen, we need some government business and tax waivers and other things done. Come, let's Giorgio. And that this was one of their conditions, that the president must release the report. Some have said that the timing coinciding with the SSNIT issue, but guess what? We're not going to stop talking about the SSNIT issue.
But the point is,
those ones...
this brings an interesting perspective. Are we still talking tax waivers?
Are we not?
Yeah, but I mean, look at the quantum, right, that goes into tax waivers. And we ask ourselves, how do we claw this back into the economy? Because the only incentive is that, okay, we're giving a multinational or ex-corporation tax-free holidays to operate within this space, to actually, you know, grow itself, you know, have employ locals, among other things. Do we have that when we have most multinationals repatriating cash back to their home countries? So I think that it's about time we relook at this whole tax waiver thing. Sometimes they take advantage of this in, you know, after the 5-year expire, they reconstitute shareholding, they restructure, change the name, just to enjoy that bonanza. And I think that we need to tighten that. So if that was the discussion, I don't know, but if they did actually make that request, that was a request in the right direction. But most of us think actually it was meant to actually, as it may dilute the SSNIT issue, which they say it's not an issue, but we think it's an issue. But the interesting thing about GRA, which I think it's a very noble institution, right? I would say it's our cash cow because that's where revenue is generated within the country. And the last couple of months, what has happened to GRE? You had a certain vice president bastardizing them for going after, who is now a flag bearer of a political party, going after corporations or the right people to take taxes. Then suddenly their board gets dissolved. And the fundamental question I'm even asking is that the new GRE board we have, right? Is she in acting capacity or she's in full capacity? Because there was no existing board when she was appointed. They just constituted a board a few days ago. So why are we doing all of this, and why are we raising interesting questions in concerned minds when it comes to...
Your brow just furrowed when you said that, because you're actually passionate about it.
Passionate about
it. Every Ghanaian should. I mean, but Benjamin...
Let me just look at a few stories. Hope Sinadoye gets 20K bail. We all know about that. Nigeria bans money rituals and smoking in movies.
Nigeria?
Yeah, bans money rituals, and this makes a lot of sense.
It does. It does.
Especially in a place like Nigeria, because things, you know, people underestimate the impact of seeing
cinema.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
You know, and it reminds me of way back when I was still watching some Nigerian movies, Isakaba and those things,
No,
and some of those. And then there's, I still regret my nude photo, Equiapim Polo. Nowadays, you see, the internet never forgets. Social media never forgets. So
I mean,
you really have to be careful.
Benjamin,
Just a sec. I just want to put the issues together there.
Okay.
So let's all be careful. It's not like it is a them versus us situation. All of us, let's be careful. Patronize local businesses to boost economy. The trade minister says so. Of course, he's been speaking at the 3rd Made in Ghana Bazaar. And our condolences to the Accra mayor. She's lost her mother. The story is here. Mayor of Accra, Mrs. Elizabeth Na Kwacho Teria Saki, has lost her mother. DNS retired, Mrs. Dora Na Ahene Amatefio Kwate. Our condolences to the mayor of Accra. And I think that's what I would do from this paper. Any reflections?
Yeah, I was just coming to the Nigerian issue, which was an
Right.
interesting one, like banning rituals and smoking. I think it's because cinema is very powerful. And as you would see, America, Hollywood, they use Hollywood actually to make the hegemonic America that they've created.
The American dream.
Yeah, the American dream. America is great and all of that. So it tells you how powerful media is. And most people, as you know, most of us would get to see our first McDonald's in movies and crave for it until you have like a real bite at it. So it just tells you how powerful these things are. And much of what you see in all of this betting culture that is emanating and especially within the Nigerian parlance, the Yahoo issues all coming up. They stem from what we see from these movies, and we think they're real, right? But, it's always interesting when you meet an actor or an actress in real life situation, and it's not what it is, but what they portray on the screens are what they feel it is. So I think that's really a big step in the right direction.
Right.
And I just don't think it should be a Nigerian thing.
I intentionally read that story because I feel
Yeah.
In some instances. I mean, and just reflect on it. You're always making movies about witchcraft and negative things. Others are making movies thinking about going into space. And the two different groupings, your children who are watching, what will they be thinking? Hey, spiritual attack. Hey, this. And prayers and this and that. And others are thinking, how can I be the next person who does something great in space or something of the sort? I'm saying that it's a reflection of our society, but at what point do we shift from it? Singapore was a certain way decades ago until someone said, we can't keep living like this. We can't keep doing this. You can't spit around, right? It's a mindset thing. So let people fashion stories. There are Ghanaian stories, interesting stories, and we always want to show those very base sides. But right before we go, thank you, Prof, for joining the conversation. I'm going to salute once more Elikem Kumoji. Maybe when we started, this was not up. He fitted me out today. Thank you, Elikem, the tailor in Jowulu, for doing me the honors. My blunt thoughts today, I've titled SNIT, SML, and Ghosts. The interesting case of the circus called Ghana. SNIT, SML, and Ghosts. The interesting case of the circus called Ghana. You want to stay for that after sports. But before I tell you what's coming up in sports, do you have anything for us before?
Well, I want to shout
noticed
out
you were...
Asiedua Akomia of Joy Prime. She's probably on air right now, so she wouldn't see this. But happy birthday. I just found out in the makeup room that it's her birthday. And she's on my screen right now, so happy birthday.
You know how she pronounces her name?
No.
Asiedua.
Asiedua. So happy birthday to the beautiful Asiedua of Joy Prime. I wish you many, many years of success and good health.
Well, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helps us bring you this segment every weekday. They are offering prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening for free if you're a woman. Their branches here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronumabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa and the Siamanzama. You can reach them on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Now, coming up in sports, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi will be having an interaction with Dr. Bello Bitugu. He joins that conversation. Do stay for that.
Went to Ghana senior high, and went to Ghana senior high, and then you know, that was the time when the universities were shut, so there was a lot of backlog, you know. So we used to do 2 years national service just to give way for the yeah. So we used to do 2 years national. So after sixth form, you don't go straight. So there was always a vacant year for the period 1983, I think, to 88 or so. And you did national service after A levels. Then you go to the university. And then I went to University of Cape Coast. And then I did my 4 years program there. And then from there, after my national service, I was retained as a teaching assistant. And after, actually, our leave month was September. And I remember vividly, 28 September, I left the shores of Ghana to Austria to start another chapter in life. It was a very wonderful time. I had a very, very wonderful childhood. I spent my time between Accra and Keta. During school period, I used to be in Keta, and holidays I used to come to Accra. I'm a Tudu boy. I grew up in Tudu.
Oh, really?
Yes, I am a Tudu boy. There, you don't see many of the Tudu boys around or Tudu girls around growing into men and women, but I'm a very proud and living example of what Tudu can do and Tudu can produce. In fact, of course, what Keta and what Zongo boy, I'm a Zongo boy, what the Zongo boys can do. And Zongo women as well. I had a very, very brilliant childhood. I was loved. I had more friends who were older than me than friends in my group. My father was well-to-do. I was the last born of my mom, and both daddy and mommy, you know, just pampered me. And my wife often says that my mother left her a very, very huge job to do. Sometimes I pretend I don't even hear that.
You don't hear that. Because last boys are always accused of being swollen headed.
Yeah, whatever. Always wanting the absolute attention and the rest. And I also learned a few things in life. But there was always one thing that I saw and I realized as a young man. I knew that I always wanted to be in the academy. I always wanted to challenge and ask and question the status quo. Why some people had more, some people hadn't. I was getting pocket money that some for a day, which some got never maybe had. Yeah, never had.
Why were you working barefooted to school?
That is it. That's why they keep telling me that I'm always saying that. But that was the niche at the time. Not your time, or during our time, it was normal to go barefoot
I actually went to school barefooted myself. So
yeah, so it was something that.
But also,
I recall even one day I went to school with sandals. We used to call it Kaya Bali. It was a rubber one, and it was like I was mocked. Actually, they made fun of me. I was ridiculed, you know. So yeah, but I mean, it was something that people did. It was something that people did, and so it was a normal convention, something, yeah. So and I had the privilege of knowing different situations. I am a Hausa, a Muslim, having grown up in Keta, predominantly Vodou and Christian religious communities. I'm a Muslim. I got to understand religious tolerance and coexistence among and between different cultures and people. And I was also privileged to learn traditions, drumming, and other cultural artifacts. And of course, being also a kind of a polyglot, you know, speaking Ewe, Hausa, then my tree is bad, my guy is a bit better than the tree, but
a Tudu boy and your tree is bad.
Yes. Well, yeah, I'm nearer the shore, so maybe Ga would have been the best. Yeah. So
But do you speak the Ga too?
Yeah, I speak Ga, maybe 40%, 30–40%. I mean, if you speak simple, normal
so
Ga, I mean, understand about 40–50.
This is your rating. Someone can rate you 2%.
Yeah, no. That's my rating.
Yeah. Just a quick one, though. The Bella Bello Bitugu. The name, what does it mean?
I'm a Hausa. Yeah, I'm a Hausa, right? My paternal side migrated some centuries back from Nigeria, right?
Now I found a Nigerian linkage.
Yeah, there is a Nigerian linkage, but I don't even know where it is, and the rest, it's like, yeah, of course. It's like the Gas who migrated from the Oyo Kingdom.
Yeah.
They have no idea where they came from.
Yeah.
And some even say some account groups came from even some parts of Asia.
Yeah.
And the rest, you know, we all migrated. I think in Ghana, it's only the Guan, debatably, who originated from the present-day Ghana, debatably, right? Yeah. So, yeah, so there were migrations. So my grandfather was one of them, and he came as a missionary to a town called Bondugu. It is still there in Ivory Coast, current day, present day Ivory Coast, Bondugu.
Oh, okay.
So he studied there, and he finished his studies and then decided to go on to his missionary. So he decided to come to Ghana, or the then Gold Coast, or the then...
Yeah, Gold Coast.
Yeah, I think it wasn't even Gold Coast when he came. It was before Gold Coast or something like that. Anyway, so what happened was, after finishing, you know, the southern belt was actually blocked.
Okay.
With the Ashanti War and so on and so forth. So he was in the north in Salaga and Bondugu.
Salaga.
Yes, Salaga here. So there is a place there, a hamlet. It used to be a town, then turned to a village, and now it's a hamlet called Bondugu. Sorry, called Bitugu. But the man came from Bondugu, but the people could not pronounce Bondugu. So they pronounced it Bitugu. So they used to say the Malam from Bitugu. The Malam from Bitugu. So the Bitugu got stuck. So that is where my surname came from, the father of my father. But he was Mr. Ibrahim, Mala Ibrahim. Okay. Bella, I'm a Hausa man, a Hausa Fulani. Bella simply means Koku, Kweku. Oh, okay. Wednesday born boy, Bala Rabi. Yeah, the writing was a bit gotten wrong. You know, those days, I don't know, maybe not your time. Those days, in the village or in the area, they just see an older person, an adult, and they say, "Jale, take him or her to school." The guy took me to school, and at that time there was a singer in Togo called Bella Bello. She used to spell her names with one L, though. Bella Bello. Now, my father's name was Bello, a Hausa Fulani name, meaning it has been fulfilled. I'm satisfied, yeah. Okay. But the Bello is also a name shared by the Yorubas as well. They also have it. So it's Hausa Fulani and Yoruba name. So the guy took me to school and then said, Bella Bello, that's my name. Of course, my name was Bella, my father's name Bello. So he said Bella Bello, reminiscent of the popular singer, the Togolese singer, Bella Bello. Yeah, so that was, and then he spelled it with E-double-L. And also he got stuff, of course, I didn't know about that. So I didn't actually care until I went to secondary school, but it was already late. It was on my certificates and the rest. So
you just stayed like that?
I just stayed like that. Instead of the A, the E has come to stay.
Okay, yeah.
So Bala is Wednesday born boy Bello. It's been fulfilled my father's name, Bitugu, the surname.
How did you get yourself from your early days into switching into sports, where a chunk of the things that many of us know you for is the things you've done with FIFA, with UEFA, with the Ghana Football Association, with many committees in this country? How did you switch into sports, or how did you get into sports?
Well, I'm proud to be a member of these fraternities you are talking about. There is a committee I'm a member of, which I thought, I keep asking myself, why did I even join this committee? Why did
That's the point. Why did you join them?
No, we will leave that to history. That particular, we'll leave it to history. I don't want it to be there, but if there is anything that I may bite and say why, it's been a member of that particular committee. But it's an experience in life.
Is it the committee that I know?
I won't well, you certainly know if I mentioned any, but no, but I've not mentioned any committee.
Is it the committee that I know? Because you're on so many committees.
Yes.
And I know you serve as a member of the GFA Appeals Committee.
Right.
Is it that one?
No, don't pull me
Is
in there as a journalist. No.
Okay, so Doug.
No.
Which institution have you been part of each committee that you feel that it was, why did I join this committee?
Please edit that part of the video.
It's a question.
No.
Which committee?
Maybe later in the course of the conversation I'll let
committee?
you know. Now you are like a journalist.
Okay, let's have a conversation then. Tell me about your story of getting into sports.
Yeah. But it's a very interesting question which I have to answer every time, and which I have to refer to my members of staff, which I have to refer to, which I refer my staff, my students, etc. to, and always mention that I actually did social sciences.
Yes.
Then veered into educational sciences.
Your
yes.
CV, I realized that lots of the things you do were social science.
Yes, social and educational sciences. Yes. And that is what I also did, educational sciences too, for my master's program in Austria. And late 1990, an organization was formed to fight racism in Europe.
Yes.
Interestingly, I was the first black referee in the federal state where I was studying, that they call Tyrol.
Okay.
Tyrol in Western Austria. The capital is Innsbruck. And I was the first and only black football referee in that federal state. So, and part of my specialization in my studies was also all forms of discrimination, anti-racism, and the rest. So with my experience as the first black referee, with my background specialization in anti-discrimination, all forms of discrimination, and with my interest in, if you like, social justice, this colleague of mine, friend of mine called Kurt Wachter, together with another friend, Michael Fanizadeh, established an NGO called Fair Play, which still exists, to fight racism in Austria. And in a short period, they established Football Against Racism Europe in 1999, and I was coordinating European activities. So I entered sports through fighting different forms of discrimination, homophobia, racism, etc. in sports, just to make sport accessible to everybody, for all to enjoy sports and to have access and the opportunity to patronize and participate in sports. Man, woman, boy, girl, atheist, Christian, Muslim, Jew, rich, poor, black, white, African, Asian, all forms of discrimination to be eradicated in sports. That was my intention, and that was the intention of Fair Play, and later Europe-wide, which I was then coordinating. And then came 2000. Kofi Annan designed and promoted the Millennium Development Goals. And part of my area of concentration in my program, by then I had then started my PhD, was development studies. So the Millennium Development Goals came around the year 2000, and it so happened that the opportunities just existed. I was part of the minority, fighting all forms of discrimination in sports, football for that matter, starting an area in development studies, And then Millennium Development came on development, especially in the world, but especially in the global south. And that is the part that brought me into it, that sport is a tool that can be used to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. So the gates just opened. UN, European Union, Austria, Africa, and it was just moving, moving. And I then was moving into sport for development, sport against all forms of discrimination. And then at all the levels, I acted as the coordinator of the program in Europe. I acted as the Ghana Fan Ambassador to the 2006 World Cup in Germany.
In Germany. Some of the UEFA Euros as well.
Yes, and I got a prize on behalf of the fans after the 2006 World Cup. Then 2008, I was a fan coordinator for when Austria and Switzerland hosted the Europe UEFA Championship. I was in charge of Innsbruck in Austria, and then
2010 World Cup.
2008 also the Cannes 2008. I came here and did something with the World Bank and the SOS Mangumana Fund. A foundation, actually.
Football has sold you to the world.
Sports, actually. Football started it, and then the rest followed. And then 2010, I was the one in charge of 6 European countries and 5 African countries, KENACO, where
I remember KENACO.
Yeah, KENACO, that's right. So I was the one coordinating that in Europe, in many parts of Europe, in certain countries, and also in Africa. And just to draw a bridge between Africa and Europe, and for which reason I also got the federal state prize in Innsbruck. And then in Austria, we got the Volta Prize, the highest prize in Austria for our work. So it just was moving, doors opening. Then I was reducing my teaching. I had then taken up teaching at the university in Austria. So I started reducing because I really had fun doing this work on the field, because I had the opportunity to do academic work as well and do work practically. And I started what we call autodidactic, something that I taught myself, attending all kinds of seminars. You earlier on talking about my CV, you saw the workshops, the seminars, the conferences, and then that's how I developed myself, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. How would you describe the journey?
Maybe 25 years now, 26 years,
Has it been worth it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I came back to Ghana, and being where I am now 10 years plus, and I realized what could be done. I keep telling people that at the moment where I sit, I think I've only been able to give out maybe 40–50% of what I can give back to Ghana. There is a lot that I've not been able to give out, maybe because of the system, the structure, the processes, and maybe because of us too, Ghanaians, because of us human beings, and because of some structural issues. But
how do we get you to give even just 80% of what you have?
80.
How do we get you to give 80%?
Well, I think first of all, it's the structure. The structure. We should move away from just doing the same thing. We should be open to new things. We should be open to saying, look, there is a time for investment, there is a time for reaping. We should also be ready to suspend instant gratification. We should go into silent and patient investment into structures, processes, ideas, strategies. We should work with concepts, we should work with ideas. Not this is how it is done and we do it this way. Yeah, we do the same thing every time. Anything you do for 3 years or so, that's if you continue doing the same thing for 3 years, then I'm sorry, something is not very appropriate over there. You need to move. That is another thing. One other aspect is sometimes we confuse physical education and sports. And we need to get that dichotomy. Another thing is too that sports is being run, or everybody thinks he or she can run sports. Once I have a general knowledge, I can apply it anywhere in sports, which is wrong. And that is one of the reasons why we are having difficulties and are not able to take up things that we can take up, or not making progress to the extent that we could make. Because, you know, a technocrat trained in anything thinks I can be put in sports and I can run it. No. In as much as I believe that sports is an area where you hardly find a parent body. So there is really no, I mean, 85 to 95% of the things you do in sports do not have their parents' body in sports. They have their parent bodies elsewhere. If you want to become a sports lawyer, you need to do sports, you need to do law first. If you want to be a sports sociologist, if you want to be a sports psychologist, if you want to be whatever, you need to read the psychology, the sociology, the law, the finance, the banking, the medicine, before you specialize in sports in that area. That we agree, that I agree, that happens. But you need to have that basis and also have a transition into sports and understand the ecosystem of sport. You don't just have that knowledge and think that is all. You can do it because you have that knowledge. And I think that is one of our problems, that we should understand that sports has its expertise, has its arena, even if it does not have its parent body in there. Coming into it, you need to also study the ecosystem before you can apply and transfer that parent body in there. So my educational sciences, my sociology background have helped me to look at sports from various angles and different perspectives. So another thing that we think we can do to get 80 or 90% of maybe Bella is, or many others, is also our mindset. Our mindset, you know, that this is this
is the way we do things.
This is the way we do things. This is how it is. Don't bring those two no things. As you know, those are the things. So if we can reduce these things, and we can see sports as a business, we can see sports as an investment, we can see sports as something outside the classroom, we can see sports as not only within the domain of the government, not only a national government, not only a central administration thing, that we can see sports not only in competition, but sports that is competition as well as recreational and can be used as a tool to instrumentalize the qualities of the institution called sports.
Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for us to discourse on some of those salient matters impacting our national life. And today I've titled my blunt thoughts, SSNIT, SML, and Ghosts. The interesting case of the circus called Ghana. SSNIT, SML, and Ghosts. The interesting case of the circus called Ghana. But things happen in this country. But it appears, it's a week and 2 weeks na scandal back on them. It appears every week or two there's something to talk about. Sometimes, I mean, I was just reflecting on it yesterday and asking myself, what is going on? It's just back to back issues. When are we going to rise from the ashes, the dust, maybe like the phoenix? But this is Ghana. It's our only beloved country. It's our motherland. You can go wherever you will, but this will remain the land of your birth, the land to which your umbilical cord is tied. And that is why together, we must come together and make Ghana better. But some things give me a lot of food for thought. For example, the SSNIT issue, the tussle with organized labor, CSOs, among others, even the media. The SML report by KPMG. And of course, also a bit of talk about the OSP and ghost names. So let's get right down into it. Come with me to the slides. So let's start with the bit about SSNIT selling 60% of its stake in its hotels and why. The why of it, SSNIT says it's to develop the hotels into world-class standards for capital injection and to assist in hotel management. Makes sense, right? Let's move on. But then, if you look at the sale of SSNIT's hotels and you look at a timeline of the sales, you would see that in November 2018, there was a search for a transactional advisor. Then in January, there was a short list for 6 out of 15 firms. Then in February 2022, so you look, 2018, 2019, 2022, there was a search for a strategic partner, and that began in earnest. And then in March, 9 companies sent proposals, 9 of them. Let's go to the next slide. Now, of these 9, you would realize that there was also the bit about the transactional advisor and the contract awarded. Now, the transaction advisor was Messrs. SEM Capital or SEM Capital. The contract price as of 2019 stood at $492,000. So cap it off at $500,000. It's $8,000 shy of $500,000. But then, next slide. Then you look at the sale of hotels in respect of a focus on 25% of the shares in the Grand Regency Hotel, because the buyer was indeed Rock City Hotel, and there were others that were in the pot. But the cost of shares, right, was $1 million. Okay? Mind you, 25% of shares in the Grand Regency Hotel. The cost of the shares, $1 million, what Rock City paid. And the transaction advisor alone got how much? Almost $500,000. Like I said, it's also a pot of entities, not just Grand Regency Hotel. But some of these things make for interesting review. $500,000 transaction advisor, and at least for one of those, the shares offloaded, $1 million. That's half of it, unless you're adjusting for inflation and all of that. But then we go to our next slide. The SSNIT bid has become topical. We're talking about it. Some say, actually, you know, there's really nothing wrong with it. He's a Ghanaian, he's a businessman. But some would also say, how about the optics? And if every party that came to power acted like this, and we all, you know, went grabbing shares and all of that, I mean, let's look at it. Minority shareholding or majority shareholding, these things do not make for very pleasant optics. And these are things, let's face it. If you go to other jurisdictions, would you see this? The very jurisdictions we try to emulate. Brian Achampong, I know him, met him a few times, spoken a few times. Nothing against him. I have no. In fact, I want our business people to thrive. But sometimes you look at the optics. Are these the things we would want to see in our democratic practice? Would you find that in the democratic practice of the countries you want to emulate, the Japans, the UKs, the Americas, would they countenance this? Sometimes we just have to look at those issues from those angles. Are we going to lift the veil, find out about beneficiary ownership and all of that? Why do we want to put ourselves through that? Which makes for interesting reading when you come to my second issue. The KPMG report. Yesterday, when I had an interaction with chairman of the NDC, Johnson Esiodun-Kisia, he made mention of the fact that the president hadn't willfully released the report, but that it was one of the preconditions. You remember recently the minority was at the Jubilee House at the behest of the president to negotiate, basically, on a number of matters that they wanted the minority to come on board on. And he says one of their prerequisites was that the SML report by KPMG would be released. But what are the contents, some of the crucial contents of that report? If you look at Act 663, So a single source arrangement must receive prior approval from the PPA. Clear. I've heard some people speak about this and say, oh, but should this have come to Parliament from the majority side? Should this really have come to Parliament and all of that? I don't know what they would have said if the shoe were on the other foot. But hey, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. We do know that the GRA on 3 separate occasions sought PPA approval to contract the then SMEL. It was a different entity using the single source method. Guess what? The PPA declined all the 3 separate requests on the grounds of SMEL's lack of capacity. Note that, lack of capacity and prior experience. Where's your experience? Where's your capacity in providing the subject matter services? So that's according to the law, the act. But what happened after that? Let's go to the next slide. Then, in February 2017, if you look at the evolution, you would see that SMEL was then incorporated on the 14th of February 2017. By June to September that year, GRA had made 3 unsuccessful attempts, like I made mention of, to obtain the PPA's approval to give a single-sourced or sole-sourced contract. In November, SMEL changed its name to SML. The E was gone, I guess, but nothing had really changed. Then in June, SML appointed a subcontractor to West Blue Ghana Limited, a service provider to the GRA. Then there would be that subsuming. GRA extended the transaction audit service contract with SML. West Blue kicked out of the picture, SML. SML then transitioned to become the main contractor. So initially, look at it, they were subsumed under West Blue, right? SMEL transmogrified into SML, subsumed under West Blue, and then, as the minority, they then became the main fish, the big deal. SML then transitioned to become the main contractor without PPA approval. But it gets even murkier. Next slide. In 2019 and 2020, the GRA dished out additional contracts to SML, an entity that the PPA had wondered about in terms of capacity and experience. Now, in 2023, the Ministry of Finance, the GRA, and SML consolidated. And if I recall, if memory serves, the finance minister then, Kenneth Oriata, put pen to paper himself. The first consolidation contract and downstream petroleum audit contract, and extended the scope of SML services to include upstream petroleum and minerals audits. Do you see the trend? Read between the lines. Read. I'm not saying anything. You read between the lines. Next slide. Then you also take a look at the Public Financial Management Act. And all of this is based on the KPMG report as well. Ministerial and parliamentary approval of contracts that binds the government of Ghana for more than 1 year. The GRA and SML was executed for a period of 5 years each. Yet when you're looking at the Public Financial Management Act, you're looking at 1 year. 5 years each. No evidence of parliamentary approval for the contract as mandated by the PFMA. No approval by Parliament, yet they went full steam ahead. Next slide. But if you also look at the total amounts, gross and net of taxes the GRA paid SML from 2018 to 2023 for the contracts in scope, or in reverse, actually, you look at the gross sum of 1.4 billion in cedis, the amount in dollars, $186.33 million. The net, 1.06 billion, the amount in dollars, $141.17 million. The question, though, as we go to the next slide, the question, though, is where did the taxes go? 1st September 2020 to 30th April 2021, a bulk payment to SML covering invoices for an 8-month period did not have VAT and other deductions amounting to 13.38 million Ghana cedis. 13.38 million Ghana cedis. Now, this contradicts the GRA's standard practice because there are precedents of deducting such taxes for payments to SML between the 1st of June 2020 and the 31st of August 2023. So what happened? 1st June 2020 to 31st August 2023, a period of about 3 years. we followed a pattern. All of a sudden, what happened on the 1st of September to the 30th of April 2021, where there was this gap? What happened in between? Did the GRA forget to tax? They wouldn't forget to tax us, so did they forget to tax SML? I don't know. But let's move on, get to the final issue. You know why I always say that this country is a funny one, which is why this morning I said the interesting case of the circus called Ghana. So the SSNIT bit, the optics don't look so good, honestly. The SML bit, the optics don't look so good. But sometimes you ask yourself, why are we bedeviled with so many problems? It's because of greed, wickedness, on the side of the ordinary man and on the side of the technocrats and the politicians. Because how can we, I mean, recently I heard the vice president talking about ghost names and how they would be, you know, but how can we do this to ourselves? The Office of the Special Prosecutor and the Controller and Accountant General's Department have released findings into the Government of Ghana Payroll Administration. Now, the investigation covered employees on the government payroll in the northern region only. Northern region, Pearl, Ghana 4. Let's go. Now, if you look at the sampled high-risk persons, we were looking at 1,265. Those cleared 1,020. That's like a chunk of them. It's left with what? 255. The ghost names found. But guess what? Let's go to the next slide. Of those, if you look at the amount saved monthly, 2.85 million Ghana cedis. That can start some road projects. It can start some hospital projects. It can take care of some schools under trees. It can do a whole lot. Yearly, do you know what that amounted to? 34.24 million Ghana cedis. And guess what? As of today, as I stand here and speak to you, some ghost is about to get paid at the end of this month. After haven't we seen it before, where even at the finance ministry, there were ghost names, people earning 20,000, 8,000, 13,000 a month. And if these things go undetected, swept under the carpet, God knows, if you follow the money trail, where these sums of money end up. But in the end, I always say, everybody needs money. Nobody survives on sand. We all need money to survive. But how much is enough? At what point is greed just ahina obedi? In a day, how much will you eat? You build that mansion, 34, whatever. How many will you sleep in at one point? Even if your bed is as big as this studio. How much of a portion can you sleep on at a point? God help Ghana. God help our motherland and make her great and strong. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you, raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. My name is Benjamin Akato. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. We're back after my blunt thoughts. I'm sure some places caught fire, but the fire service is coming your way to douse that fire. We're back in the studio. It's time for our big stories, and we have the NHIS boss joining the conversation this morning, Dr. Dacosta Aboagye, and he's going to be we're going to be having a full breakfast, a bumper breakfast in terms of the work of the NHIS, what they've been up to, and in terms of our health, what the plan is moving forward. Dr. Aboagye, good morning.
Good morning.
I love your outfit, I must say. The flowing white. Most are watching the cry white room. but it's a lovely outfit. Yeah. Thanks for doing us the honors and for joining us this morning. Mm-hmm. Let me just start from here. If I were to ask you, what is the current state of the NHIS, our National Health Insurance Scheme? We've come a long way.
Yeah.
The teething stages and all that. Where are we? You've taken over from someone I have liked from afar, and you know the person I speak of.
Yes.
Dr. Bernard Okuboy. He has now been assigned a ministerial role. What is the state of the NHIS?
Okay, thank you. Let me extend greetings to Ghanaians. The NHIS is really doing well. It's good. We have some few challenges, but in the midst of our 20-year history, I think we have served the population very well. I believe that there must be a couple of reforms, especially if you want to achieve the universal health coverage. And we must also do things that will obviously inure to the benefits of the Ghanaian citizen or the people who really need help. So for this reason, there are a couple of things that obviously will be on board in my tenure. My predecessors did well in the last 20 years. They've actually managed it very well in spite of the challenges. So I think I'll also do my best and serve my country well. And I think Ghanaians will benefit from my leadership. Thank you.
I see. What do you think, I mean, you inherited? How much would you say you inherited from Dr. Okuboy in terms of, because before him there was Dr. Selby.
Yeah.
I remember coming to interview her in the office once, then Dr. Okuboy, and now. It said that for a child, you stand or you sit on the shoulders of those who came before you.
Yes.
Where did they leave off? Where are you taking off from?
I think all the CEOs left left the NHIS in good state. I remember, if I start from 2016, there were some outstandings. I think there was about 1.2 billion. I've been reviewing the data, so I know. There were about 1.2 billion that was left by the previous regime. This was actually cleared by my predecessors, obviously from 2017 to now. That is also not to say that, obviously, we do not owe facilities. But at least we've reduced the months that we owe facilities, because there was a year, a whole year of non-payment of claims that amounted to the 1.2 billion. But in our tenure, if you look at us now, last month we paid 171 million to facilities. The lower tiers, we owe them 3 months. But when it comes to the higher tier, we owe them about 5 to 6 months. So we've paid up to November.
Right.
So which means that we continue to engage the Ministry of Finance for us to close the gap. So we are lagging behind in terms of the higher tier, but we are in line in terms of the lower tiers. And this month, we will still be committing to our payments, but we are in talks with the Ministry of Finance to obviously give us funds to bridge the gap between now, obviously to reduce the amounts that we owe. Yeah.
I see. You've already started talking about your debt, and you've also made mention of the fact that, yes, indeed, debt comes with owing certain... Yeah. I remember having a discussion sometime this year, or was it late last year, with an entity, pharmaceutical entity.
Yeah.
And the man was in pain.
Yeah.
In terms of the millions, I'm not talking thousands or tens of thousands, millions owed his outfit, for which reason his business, obviously I can't make mention of, his business was literally crumbling, and it had been a long while. And this person was looking for this money to procure, the components for pharmaceuticals and all of that. There are hospitals, medical outfits, reeling on the back of non-payment. Some of them have actually stopped, that. They have stopped allowing people to use the NHIS because they say, look, we'll not get our money now. So they are doing cash and carry. How are you dealing with these issues?
Raymond, thank you. So if you have a contract, Benjamin, sorry. So if you have a contract with someone, okay, you must stick to the agreements, okay? Right. Like I said, a scheme that is paying between 180 to 250 per month, it's not a joke, and it's not something that we must take lightly. And under the new act, we're supposed to pay promptly. But the fact is, we know the process. It goes through GRA, which obviously they will have to validate before it's transferred to us. So we have contract with the facilities to be paying within 3 months. And like I've said, the lower tiers are majority of our facilities. We are within range. So, I disagree with the fact that they will be charging, but we've met them. And they are saying
But you do know some are doing that.
Wait. We've met the facilities. Right. And they are saying that the tariffs are low. This is why they are charging. So a team from my outfit with all the stakeholders are reviewing the tariffs. And that is where the conversation should start. So if you need tariff increase, then it means that obviously, once we review the tariffs, which means that we must take into consideration the current economic situation and also, obviously, other factors. So we are doing all that, and we are doing it with the service providers themselves. So when we come up with the new tariffs, for me, it will be morally not right for the facilities to be charging once we start to implement.
Have you come up with the new tariffs yet?
No, it's ongoing.
Exactly.
It's
and that's exactly my point. So I'm saying that we are saying as of this point, some of them, I've had people go to medical facilities and come out and tell you, look, it's not working because, and I'm not saying that the NHIS is a fantastic thing. Like no one, you go to the UK, they have their own system. Yeah. They've got it to a certain level. We aspire to get there. Yeah. So it's not to denigrate what we're doing, but to look at the chinks in the armor of the NHIS, because in the end, I don't remember the last time I used my NHIS card. I don't. Thankfully, I have health insurance from here, and I'm able to get access to a few things. But there are some people to whom, if they go to hospital, that extra 50 cedis, 100 cedis, 200 cedis is basically life. It's like taking away a whole lot from them. These are the people we're speaking for. So if they go to any medical outlet, I remember I have a friend who was delivering children and all of that. They didn't, there are things they should have, they didn't get them as per the requirements. So I'm saying, are you aware these entities are there refusing to accept the card?
So, Ben, this is why I said there must be reforms, you see. So the question should be, what are we doing in such a way that we stop these illegal charges? You see, so I believe that there must be reforms, as I've talked to you about. You see, if you look at other jurisdictions, they guarantee what we call, like what we do in the petroleum industry, the automatic price adjustment. But if you look at our act stipulates that we should do a yearly review. Okay. But you see, that is not really helping. Because
it's not realistic.
No, it's not. Because if you do yearly review, then it means that when there is a spike in prices, then the pharmaceutical industries and obviously they will still be complaining. Right. So I believe that it's time for reforms, and I believe we need to give guarantees to obviously the facilities and the pharma companies by introducing what we call the automatic price adjustment. Okay. So once you do that, then it means that they have some buffer. They have some guarantee that even if prices are increasing, then, so I'm recommending a national tariff review committee that when obviously prices go up or depending on the economic situation, that committee will actually sit and review the tariffs. Then we start to implement. That will be one of the solutions to curbing these illegal charges. So at the end of the day, yes, it could be that it's happening, but we also need to put our house in order to make sure that we are meeting them in such a way that they will have no right to be charging the patients. And again, I still do not believe that if you have a contract with someone and now that they are in the negotiation table, they shouldn't be charging our clients because we are paying based on the old tariffs that we agreed.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, obviously, we waiting for the tariff conversation to finish. Then we start the implementation. And we've covered it under our budget because if you look at our 2024 formula or budget, we have about 30% plus. So it means that we've covered it under the claim. So it's just a matter of we completing the work so that we give them what is needed. But for them charging our clients, I disagree. It is not right. And I think they should desist from that.
I see. Even in spite of the
Yes, because we have a hardship. Because we have a contract with them. If you have a contract with someone,
but you know, a contract goes both ways. You must show goodwill from both.
Yeah, but we've shown goodwill.
If you owe me money,
yeah,
you've not paid me for many months. Sometimes some would say that it may even stretch into over many months. And my contract is to perform X. Your contract or your end of the contract is to perform Y. You are not performing Y. Already, you are giving me cause not to perform X. You do know that contractually.
No, but you see, I told you, majority of our facilities.
No, I want you to answer that question.
No.
You do realize in contract.
Wait, but once put it in context,
you don't.
Majority
fulfill
of
your
the facilities.
This is what happens.
No, we are fulfilling our end because majority of the facilities are the lower tier facilities, and I've told you that we are within range because our contract says that we should pay within 3 months. And even though the Act stipulates that we must pay immediately, it is not realistic. It's not possible for us to do because the money goes to the consolidated.
So that must also change.
Of course, we must do something.
The Act must be tweaked.
Of course,
in that regard.
Yes, I believe that we must tweak the Act a little bit because it goes through to the consolidated fund. By the time you validate and everything, you see, the 3 months is even over for Finance Ministry to transfer the money to the NHIS account. So those are the administrative reforms that we need to make sure that we put the scheme in the right footing. So I look at it more of an administrative than as long as the Ministry of Finance and Controller is releasing the funds, the scheme is actually a very good scheme that is really sustainable over many, many years to come.
Right. I just want to bring in this bit. So you say there must be a tweaking of the Act. For example, some of the things are not realistic, which means then that technically they are compelling you to go outside of your contract because the terms in there, the terms and conditions are not favorable. I mean, I understand you.
Yeah.
If we can say that this is what we aspire to, but currently, is it feasible? It is not. Then you also talk about making recommendations about, the scheme moving forward. It is one thing to recommend. It's another thing to actualize. What are you doing? How quickly are you doing it? I mean, how are you going to be able to execute? What is the plan? Okay. What have you initiated?
Thank you so much. So you see, the good thing is in leadership, you are put there to solve problems, right?
Indeed.
And for me, I believe that I should be able to handle this with all the stakeholders. That is why immediately I've told you that the tariff is actually being reviewed.
Right.
And it's not being reviewed by the NHI, it's being reviewed by all the stakeholders.
Right.
So we'll take into consideration all the prevailing circumstances, being it. But one of the things that I've also realized is that you see, if you want the scheme to be sustainable, over the years, the scheme has actually been focusing on certain things like curative services. So how do we reform this dynamics in such a way that obviously there's sustainability? I believe that there must be, it's time for us to introduce new things on the scheme in such a way that the claims will actually reduce over time. And I believe that we must now focus on preventive health care. In addition to
preventive rather than curative. Don't wait for the thing to happen and try to deal with it. Prevent
it. To prevent it. And you see, this is where, if you look at the advanced countries, it is not just by accident that they send you a text message to come for a checkup. They want to reduce the cost of their health services. Yeah. And those are the things we need to do. So within the 2024 budget, we are introducing what we call the annual health check.
Annual health check.
Yes, giving every Ghanaian the opportunity to go to any of the health facilities to have their vitals checked on their birthday or on their month of birth. In fact, it is really going well. This committee, I've set up a committee chaired by Dr. Asamoah, the former Deputy Director General of the WHO. The partners have actually expressed interest, and because we want to make sure that we reduce our cost burden in such a way that it is sustainable. Our grandfathers told us that prevention is always better than cure. And to be honest with you, it is the best approach that we can go. I speak in conferences, and when I say development partners, and I cited about this, if we are able to introduce it, of which we are starting, we really need to introduce it. See, we are just sitting on a time bomb of the non-communicable diseases, hypertension, diabetes, stroke, and the NCDs. So how do you reduce these? We can only
These are the very ones creating chaos in our lives now. Because hypertension feeds into diabetes, and hypertension feed into kidney disease, and all of it. We'll get there.
Yes.
We'll get there.
So that's why we need a holistic approach in dealing with it. And I think that is what has been missing from our scheme for the last 20 years. So we need to introduce it now in such a way that our claims will now be preventive, curative, and the services. Once you do that, you'll be reducing the cost of the curative services over time. Though initially it could be expensive, but it's okay because that's how, obviously, in health economics, that's okay. But it will be reduced over time, and Ghanaians will get the full benefits. You get what I mean? Yeah. So I think this is the things those are some of the reforms that I want to introduce immediately to see the scheme, the sustainability of the scheme, and also to see that life expectancy is increased.
Right.
In the Sustainable Development Goal 3 talks about health and wellness. The wellness part is where we need to be focusing. As for, obviously, the wellness part has been missing in action. So we really need to focus on the wellness, and this annual health check will fit into the wellness package that we are.
I honestly, and of course your expertise coming into the role, it's crucial. It's the first time that we're having someone with your background, and I think I like part of where you are headed, and this annual health check I think it's an amazing concept, because I feel if we all were doing this, which is what other jurisdictions do, you will likely not get to the point of terminal illness or all of that, or not even realizing that something as basic as your blood pressure has been shooting up for them to diagnose what the problem is before it becomes problematic.
You are right. Yeah.
But I want to know, what will this cover? Because a checkup is broad. Someone can have a full body checkup. Others can give you just, I'm just checking this and that. For example, a lot of men now are having prostate-related issues, right? So is it going to be in there? A lot of women, I've interacted with women who would tell you, in fact, I've supported some people who would tell you that, I can't go for the nipple thing. It's expensive. Mammograms. Mammograms. Right. Yeah. And so some of them will be there. There's a lump or something they are not taking. Before you realize it, then it becomes a cost on the system. Are these things going to be factored in?
Okay. Thank you so much, Ben. You see, I think that we must start from somewhere. I believe that, like I talked about the NCDs, let's look at the basic ones like hypertension, diabetes, for example. Then let's look at body mass index and also weight to start with. It can't always be expanded because you say it also comes with cost. So it must always be. But let me at this point also say that conversation on prostate, for example, have actually started. It's been ongoing. It started from my predecessor's time. So it's actually ongoing. We cover some of the cancers. We cover breast cancer, cervical cancer, 4 childhood cancers, you see. So,
and even the childhood cancers, it was quite a tussle.
Yeah, it was.
Some of us were advocates before, but thankfully some of them.
Now I can confirm that since its introduction, we've paid about $1 million to clients.
We applaud you for that.
Yes, thank you. In facilities like I can mention them: Agogo Hospital, Gatanga, Cape Coast, Ho, and most of the hospitals that do have these children, we actually covered them. So I specifically requested for this data because obviously it's important we put it into perspective because we are now paying. So, and I'm happy that we are able to do that and even to be able to do more in the coming years when these reforms actually kicks in. But like I said, there must be a holistic approach to obviously the NHIS reforms. As I've told you, the pressure to also add on the diseases is also very real. Today, you see HIV, you say add on. This disease will say add on. So let's tackle it from the roots. Once we start to tackle it from the roots, then we know that we'll be getting somewhere. And this is what I really want to champion. And one of the challenges that we've also noted is the informal sector. You see, it has been a big problem since our 20-year history. So this comes in with the digitalization agenda of the government,
where now your Ghana card number is now your NHIS number.
And I was about to get there, but you started.
Exactly. If you are able to do this, you see, I mean, if you go to the facility or any facility using your Ghana card, which we started because you need to link your Ghana card with your NHIS card. You see, once you are able to do this, then it means that we are actually reducing the barriers to healthcare. And this is what will aid us to the universal health coverage. So this year, NHIS and NIA, we've actually signed an MOU. So on our database, we had about 6.3 million Ghanaians without Ghana card. Instead of printing our cards, which cost between $4 to $6, we are saying that no, we will not print our cards anymore. We will cede this money to NIA, who really needs the resources to print the Ghana card for us. So it's also another bold and
so one card to take care of the entire.
Exactly, one card to take care. Yeah. Then all you have to do is to remove the cost component, that's the registration fee. Then universal health coverage is on site. Right. You see, so these are the reforms that I'm talking about. And like you said, this is my expertise. So I think it's good that I'm bringing it on board, and it's good that the whole system will actually benefit from these reforms.
So you're also trying to bring in, bring on board 6.3 million children. How far have you gone with that?
In fact, we are starting the mass registration in schools.
Has it started?
No, we're now doing the training. So we've signed the MOU. We're doing the capacity building that goes with it. But we are starting on the June 10th.
June the 10th.
June the 10th. Yeah, we are starting, and the first batch will be registering 3 million of them. And we'll continue to make sure that all the 6.3 are registered. But because NIA do have the funds to do it, it will be easy for them to do it, because at the end of the day, it boils down to the funds, and we are ceding our money to them. So it makes it easy for them to produce the cards for these Ghanaians in such a way that they can access healthcare.
All right. I'll come to another point shortly where I will allow you to talk about. But some say the NHIS is bankrupt. Is that true? Like Musika sang.
It cannot be bankrupt. Like I've told you, a scheme paying between 180 to 250 million can never be bankrupt. But it's also the case that the Ministry of Finance will release the funds to the NHI. Because once we have constant release, then we wouldn't have problems, and it's sustainable. You get what I mean? So for me,
so what kind of releases do you have? Delayed releases. Exactly. How long does it take? Since you've been there, it's not been too long.
I was confirmed about some few weeks ago.
Exactly.
But I think,
from what you know, from what you've been told since you got confirmed,
we are waiting for them to do the releases. We are waiting for them, but I think they will. The minister has actually assured me that.
Do you think where we find ourselves, IMF, in the grips of the IMF program or IMF supported program, an election year and all of that, do you think it could impact the resources that are thrown your way? And we have the example of experience from the past. So being realistic, are you not being like a bit too much of an Oliver Twist?
Okay, I don't think so. You see, the good thing about the IMF program was that social protection was actually protected. Yeah. So the NHIS, in effect, was actually protected. So in any case, our funds do not depend on the releases from the IMF. Because at the end of the day, you are paying, and I'm paying. So all we know is that our father do have money, and our father should release the money.
We do know, though, just like
if you've collected,
just like with the GET fund, you can pay, but sometimes the money will not.
I think
end up there.
Social protection is very important. We cannot put the vulnerable in distress, and I believe that the Ministry of Finance will do the needful by releasing the funds to us. I have no doubt to doubt. I have I have nothing. I don't have any doubts that they will obviously release the funds to us to make the payments.
All right.
I have no doubt.
I like your optimism. I know you are communicating something. You are communicating something.
Because of the assurances that have been given to me by the finance minister. So I'm confident that the funds will be released. So I'm confident.
I like something you said. You say we cannot what?
Well, we cannot. Yeah, we cannot put the vulnerable in distress. That one we cannot. We cannot.
I like
As a
that.
country, we cannot do that. And so we cover most of our claims are for the vulnerable, the vulnerable patients. So we cannot do that. So I think they will stick to that.
I want us to also, I mean, I've grilled you a bit. Let me, I'll give you a bit of room and then I'll come back. But I also think we ought to celebrate what is going well. So since you've got in, what is going well? What is working well? Effectively, efficiently, that you think we ought to celebrate? What are the gains that the NHIA has made?
Okay, thank you. So I think I've already mentioned a lot of gains that we have, but I think what I will obviously say is that we need to celebrate the scheme, and the scheme needs to be supported by everyone. For me, in terms of the workers, obviously for the NHIS, what they go through, and also I mean to make sure that they are delivering on their mandate is really remarkable for the last 20 years. In fact, we were in the Eastern region. Someone said, I've worked in the NHIS for 25 years. Then I asked, when did the scheme start? He said, oh, well, I was there before the scheme. So you see, we need to celebrate the contributions of the workers and also the facilities and our stakeholders for the cooperation and the collaboration that we continue to enjoy with them. It's been going very well. I mean, for a very long time, you've seen that even in the midst of, obviously, we not being able to, obviously, for the higher tiers, pay them within the 3 months, they've still been quiet, and we celebrate that. You see, we will just continue to encourage them that they should be working with us in terms of the reforms that are coming on board so that we all can have a very good health system that will benefit the whole of the population. And that is our, obviously, core mandate. We want to serve the population.
Right. Let me bring in a message here from Letitia Osei-Tupoku. She says, it's about screening and not curing the actual disease. Prostate screening annually for males 35 plus is a must, and mammograms for women 40 plus every 10 years, unless there is a family history, is a must. Impact will be felt looking at how much the NHIS is spending on breast cancer, which is covered. Letitia, maybe you missed that angle of the conversation because we spoke about that. I actually put him to the sword on prostate related issues, mammograms and all of that, and he gave an answer. And he also spoke about the fact that we ought to get to the point where we are looking at preventive, not curative strategies. Because once it gets to the point where you now have to cure, then there's already, fire is already on the mountain and the country's purse is going to bleed. How many Ghanaians are currently on the scheme as of today?
Okay, so we have about 17 million active members, 17 million Ghanaians. Again, there are certain things that we've done, I'll share with you just now, that will obviously increase the numbers. But on our database, I think we have about 25 million. So if you deduct the 17 from the 25 from the 17, about 7 or 8 million inactive members.
25 from 17, that's about 8 million.
About 8 inactive members, but they are on our database. But we do have 17 million active membership currently on the scheme. Now, again, this is where I also still talk about reforms. So you know that everyone pays for the NHIS, all right? Because if you buy something, it's
you're paying for it.
Yes. And for SNIT contributors, we deduct from their salaries. Then they have to now register with 8 Ghana cedis before they become members of the scheme. So the board took a decision, I think last week, to abolish that 8 cedis so that SNIT contributors will be automatic members of the scheme and benefit from the scheme. That will actually be increasing our membership straight away. Because, in fact, if you look at it, see, they will take car, go to our facility to register with 8 cedis, so they are even spending more. But at the end of the day, they also pay huge sums in terms of the direct deductions.
And once we're able to bring in the Ghana card reforms, then it will be taken as source. So you do not really need them to be paying the 8 cedis. So those are the things that we are doing. So we believe that very soon the numbers will obviously, and also again, I mean, in terms of the expiry date, the cards as being going out of date, those ones to me are necessary because we can do it from our end. Once we have the Ghana card, what will be the point of the renewal? So we'll be doing automatic renewal. And this is where the digitalization agenda of the government is good. Because you see, the Ghana card lasts for 10 years. Our card was lasting for 5 years. You get the drift? Yes. So in this sense, I think it is really good that we are obviously abolishing that 8 cedis for the SSNIT contributors. Its impact on our budget is negligible. Negligible, trust me. So we don't have to put the SSNIT contributors, and they are not that many. There are about 2 million of them or something. So they are not that many.
In terms of digitization, though, in which direction do you think the NHIA, and by extension the NHIS, is headed? How much more can we do with digitization feeding into digitalization?
I think for us, we believe that all our documents should be digitalized. And linking it to what the ministry is doing, electronic records, and so that we abolish all the manual things that we do. I think we are doing well in that regards because most of our claims now are digitalized. And we are using a lot of digital platforms like my NHIS app is also doing well. So once we do the Ghana card and we do the integration with the NIA, I think it's going to be fantastic. And again, there's one thing that I have to mention. One of the things that we are bringing on board is also the case that our visitors coming to this country must have mandatory health insurance.
So now we're getting to the point where we'll mimic what has applied in other countries. When you're traveling to other jurisdictions, you will need to get insurance before you get there.
It's very important. You know, I lived in the UK. You see, when you travel to when you travel there and you are sick, you need to benefit from the NHIA. Right. Okay, there. So it's the same thing. Visitors come. In fact, it's covered in our act that the non-Ghanaians must be covered. So I've seen a situation where some of my friends have come to this country and they are sick and they are calling me, which facilities do we go? So what we're doing is that once we give them mandatory visitors insurance, then it means that we designate facilities for them. So when they come and they are not well, they can go there. In fact, that can also bring additional resources to the NHIA, and which is really fantastic. It's also a case of expanding the scheme. And you know, the Ghana card will also be issued to non-Ghanaians. So once we do that, it is all towards achieving the universal health coverage. For me, it's very good. And I think those are the things that we must be focusing on. And I'm excited that obviously all these things are coming together for the government.
All right, let's look at some other health areas. You've spoken about the childhood cancers. Are there any other cancers that are being targeted as of now?
Yep, okay.
What's the plan?
So the breast cancer, as I said, is already covered. The cervical cancer.
When you say it's covered, what do you mean?
The treatment is covered. So, but I've told you about my preventive approach. So for me, in the medium to long term, the preventive approach in terms of screening those should be brought on board. To the extent that I believe that HPV, we must be able to do...
Did you just say HPV?
HPV.
Human papilloma virus.
It must be screened. So in the immediate to long term, we must be considering that. And the pap smear test, we must also consider that. Then I think there must be some labs on the medium to long term as well. But the main thing is we need to start somewhere. Once you start, you see that you now get a clear picture of how you need to. It's like the curative service. We didn't just add on the things. We only started and we kept on adding. In the same way that when we start with the preventive, because preventive is also broad, and almost all the diseases, we need to prevent them. So once we start in this way, then we can be adding on as we go. And like I said, if you
put it in 5 to 10 years, you will see a drastic reduction in terms of the claims, and you see a lot of cost savings. But in doing so, see, there must be other things that must go with it. So, for example, I will encourage Ghanaians actually to take physical activity very serious. Because at the end of the day, when you wake up, just do some small exercise, just be stretching, at least 30 minutes of walk. Go to the gym, go to the Brie Mountains, just be walking. You see, those are the things that we need. Eat good nutrients. In the UK, we have what we call 5 a day. Okay, it's not just by accident. So how can we also promote that in this jurisdiction? Fruits.
What you're saying is great, but if people end up eating a lot of carbs, it's also economic. You know that. I mean, these are real life issues. Recently, we had some, kidney patients in the studio receiving dialysis, and that's what I'm going to.
I get you. I think you are right.
It's also that. I mean, have you checked the cost of fruits on the market? So, especially organic ones nowadays.
What are we doing in support of our farmers?
People are afraid because there's galamsey and all that. If you're not careful and you're not careful where you buy from, fruits, vegetables. I mean, have you taken a look at the cost?
I get where you are going, but again, you see, how do we support our farmers in such a way that they bring more fruits? You get what I mean? So these are the areas that the Planting for Food and Jobs must also be looking at in terms of, because I mean, these are things that we need. Right. You see, so I think it's in fact, have you heard the phrase health in all policies? So the whole world is championing what we call health in all policies. So there must be health in agric, and it's exactly what we've just talked about. There must be health in economics. So there must be, in finance ministry must have a health component in assessing their budget, in assessing their physicals. Right. You see, so those are the things, if you look at environment, there must be health in environment. So that is what we call the health in all policies, and it's an agenda being championed by the whole world, and this is what will actually near to the benefit of the ordinary Ghanaian. So a holistic approach for the whole system, talking to each other, is very important.
Important points made, even in trade.
In trade,
you can put it there in terms of the goings and comings and bringing in crucial logistics for health. Which brings me to the point of dialysis. I want to stay here for just a bit. It's becoming a major problem, kidney-related diseases. We've spoken about part of it because if people were checking, for example, their hypertensive levels more, you would know. If people were checking blood sugar more, people would probably not have degeneration into kidney disease. But what exactly can be done about dialysis treatment, for example? I hear the actual figures are north of 700-800 cedis, that there are some considerations that some groupings, I think First Sky, Korle Bu, AIDS and all that, but even the 400-500, people simply, I mean, how much is the person earning? What is the direction of the NHIA on that?
Okay, thank you so much. I think dialysis is a very important topic, and it's become topical in the country for some time now. And I think from us, from the NHIS, we don't just add on the diseases. Currently, there is a whole stakeholders and committees working on the actual impact on dialysis. Should we add on or should we not add on? But in the interim, luckily, when I came, when we were going to Parliament, it was also topical. So what we did was we obviously informed our MPs through the Health Committee that we believe that we must be able to champion some of our corporate social responsibilities on helping or supporting dialysis patients. Gratefully or graciously, Parliament gave the National Health Insurance Authority 2 million Ghana cedis as a subsidy as we wait for the actual actuarials for the entire dialysis scenario. So at the moment, I can confirm that the Ministry of Finance has actually given us the 2 million to disburse to support as a subsidy for the dialysis.
2 million Ghana cedis.
2 million Ghana cedis.
How are you disbursing this? So, which entities are getting it?
So again, there was a committee that was set up, chaired by Dr. Nsia Sari. We are meeting this afternoon as well with all the CEOs of the teaching hospitals, the main ones, Korle Bu, Komfo-Anokye, and Central Region. Let me say
How about
that,
Tamale?
Yeah, Tamale, we've actually written to Tamale as of yesterday, and Ho, because we need the figures. But the figures that were given to us were from these three. That's Komfo-Anokye.
So it means as of now, the focus is going to be Korle Bu, Komfo-Anokye, and the Central.
Yes, but there will be, once we get the figures from Ho and Tamale, we will.
So you are going to add them on?
Of course, we will.
They will not be.
No, they will not be left out. We just need the figures. So, like I said, as of yesterday, we've written to them. And what I know is that for Korle Bu, as you said, there is a philanthropic supporting them for about 380. But during the conversation, as in the committee...
I hear twice a month or something of that sort.
Yes.
So it means in those 2 sessions, and some of them, they should be doing maybe 2 or more sessions. Some are doing 1, others are doing the 2. But it means in a week, your support has ended, and for the rest of the time...
Let me take my time to explain.
Because that's what some of them came in the studio
Let me take my time and explain it, because it's a little bit technical. Like I said, Korle Bu is getting support from the philanthropists. But through the committee's meetings, we realized that the fees and charges have actually gone up from 380 to 490.
Right.
That is what we were informed. I don't know if it's factual or not.
I think 381 to 490.
Exactly, but that was the information we got at the committee level. So we
Which
decided,
is what I was told a few days ago when they were
So
here.
we decided that based on the numbers that we have, let's look at what is feasible, because it's only a subsidy. And let me put it clear, it is a subsidy. So what we decided to do is, if Korle Bu is getting 380 for 8 cycles, that is each of them, they do need between 6 to 8 cycles per month. Or sessions per month.
Right.
Okay.
But hold it there. I get where you are going, but I just want to clarify, because that's not what the renal patients told me. They say it covers about 2 sessions. It's 2 sessions within an 8-session cycle, which is a month, that are covered. So you are saying here that all 8 are covered?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay,
what
so
I'm saying is that I know that there is a philanthropic support for Korle Bu, but what can we as NHIS do? What I'm saying is that I know the patients do need at least 2 sections a week.
Exactly.
So it means that they need 8 sections for 4 weeks period, which is 1 month. They need 8. So even if the philanthropist is covering 2 sections, okay, that's for Korle Bu. So for NHIA, can we bridge the gap for the 2 sessions between the 380 and 490? 1 or 491. When we worked it out, based on the numbers, we were looking at 111 per section to make it 491.
Right.
So if we cover 2 sessions, it means it is 222. So at the end of the day, patients from Korle Bu, based on the philanthropic support, are also getting 2 sessions free of charge at 491, based on the support that we are also giving them. Then you come to Komfo-Anokye. They do not have any support. But it's only fair that we cover the 491 for them, so that they are at par with Korle Bu.
Right. So for them, Korle Bu is not full coverage, but for them, I mean coverage in terms of session. But okay, so let me get this clear. Apart from what First Sky may be doing, you are topping up with the 111. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, so they'll end up paying, they'll still stick to the 380, or it will reduce even further to the 200 and something you mentioned?
No. So if you add 111 to 380, it's 491.
Exactly.
For 1 section.
Right.
So it means when we give them...
But that is even after the subsidy already from First Sky?
No. So again, that's why I'm saying it's technical, so take your time to understand.
I think it's pretty simple. They say that the real figure, just so you understand me, is north of 700 cities.
But you cannot, but
that is the actual figure. When you take out the subsidy of First Sky,
let's be careful.
That is when you end up with the 490.
Let's be careful here. We operate under law, okay? Parliament, under the fees and services, is saying that it's 491. So who dare you charge more than 491? If Parliament have actually approved 491.
But even the 491, is it approved? Because there's been a tussle with Parliament and not even approving that.
That's what I'm saying.
okay, so we can even stick to the 380.
Right.
So if Parliament says that spend 380, you dare not spend above the 380. You get what I mean? So what I'm just trying to say is that let's put it into the approved figure. I am aware that under the fees and services, obviously there is 491 somewhere. As for whether it's in contention, I don't know. But what I know is 491. What the NHIS will do for patients from Korle Bu is to top up what the philanthropist is doing, which is the 380. So we will give them 111 in addition. And we can only cover 2 sessions, which is 222 for all patients on the philanthropic support for Korle Bu.
Okay, so
that one we can
just clarify for me. So for Korle Bu, those going to Korle Bu, how much, in essence, when this is through, how much are they going to pay?
It's 222
per each session, or per the 2
sessions that we are. It's just a top up.
All right. So then for the remaining sessions, so instead of paying maybe 380, they're now going to be paying 222 thereabouts. Is that what you're saying?
No,
for those 2 sessions?
No, they are not going to pay anything. In fact,
they'll pay nothing.
They'll pay nothing.
Okay, so that's the clarity I want. So for those 2
sessions, because the philanthropist is paying,
and you are also
and we are topping up. So why would they pay anything?
Okay, so 2 sessions out of the 8 free. Yes. They are left now with 6 sessions.
Yes. Already they were going to pay, obviously, the difference plus this thing.
So likely you can even say that what they would have expended on those 2 sessions to match up what the philanthropist is doing, they can now extend to the next 2 sessions.
Next 2 sessions.
Okay, great.
But again,
now let's come
from Korle Bu, Komfo-Anokye. So we are giving them 2 sessions free for 491. So they will be getting 986 or something. Just do the math for me. 491.
So 400 by 2 is 800. 90 by 2 is 180. So that's what, 982 cedis.
982. So they will get it for free. Then patients from Central Region will get same. And again, you see, if you look at it, this is for equity purposes. You see, for NHI, we thrive on equity. So we're just trying to make sure that, so in effect, patients from Korle Bu, Komfo-Anokye, and Central Region are getting 982 for free.
So you're now pegging all of them because in the past, it was as though those in Korle Bu were getting more benefits. Now you're putting all of them on par or at
based
par.
on the funds we have. At the moment, we don't cover it. We are only doing it as part of our 20th anniversary from our corporate social responsibility. So we don't cover dialysis, it should be clear. But based on our compassionate grounds, we believe that we must be able to do something. So the 2 million, as part of our 20th anniversary, and with the approval of Parliament, we are giving them that support.
So clarify, is that to say that all these, teaching hospitals are going to have similar packages?
Yes, when we get the data. Yes, I've already spoken to, I think, Tamale's CEO, so I'm waiting for the data. And if you do the maths, there will still be, based on what I've shared with you, there will be some extra, and we'll go to Parliament mid-year. So when we go and there's obviously top up, we will obviously ask them to still cover it under our CR's corporate social, so that we'll be able to extend it to...
You say this is not, technically it's not part of your mandate, so to speak, or what you've been doing.
Yes.
You are doing it on humanitarian grounds.
Yes.
But I'm going to push you a bit.
Yeah.
Across the world, you keep mentioning the UK. They have the health system, especially for the vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's not for the rich. In fact, sometimes they take from the rich so that they can give proper health care to the poor.
Yeah.
Here's what is happening. Back then, you would say, it's situation, and that is a bit of a misconception because we think it's when you consume a lot of sugar that. But some of these illnesses were deemed to be for a certain category of people, some elite people who ate certain foods. Now, if you look at, you can go back and look at that interview I had with the 2 gentlemen.
Yeah.
They are not, they're even struggling for work. The common man is going down with diabetes. The common woman, the ordinary Joe or Jane, is also now coming up with all of these conditions. Yeah. Are we, under your watch, going to get to the point where we look at this no longer as, we are doing you a favor, but this is actually part of our core mandate? I mean, you react to the critical issues as they come up. Kidney disease has become a critical issue. Are we going to get to that point?
I think, so again, you see, if me and you sit here to say that we should add kidney disease to the NHIS, we'll be making a big mistake. But again, I get the drift. You see, there must be some sort of funding for kidney disease, okay? But as to whether it should come from the NHIA is the question that the experts must tell us, the actuarials must tell us. You get what I mean? Because we are also looking at the sustainability of the scheme. But what differently can we do? I believe that, you see, where we are, okay, we must be obviously buying equipment, for example, for health facilities in such a way that they will be able to reduce the cost of dialysis. That area of our mandate as NHIS, we've not actually explored it very well. So access, okay, and access can be defined in so many. So in some countries, you see, they buy this equipment in such a way that the cost of dialysis or the cost of certain diseases are reduced. Because if you have, let's say, the equipment, then it will be the cost on the consumables, basically. Right. But some of the facilities do not have those equipments.
And even those that have, Kolebu, how many do they have?
Exactly.
So people actually have to wait in queue.
In queues. So you see, these are...
And this takes about, what, 4 hours or so? Because they are basically pumping your blood out, so cleaning,
when I talk about the
so
reforms,
to speak, and pumping it back in.
When I talk about, these are the things that I'm talking about. You see, into the future, how do we envisage ourselves to help in such a way that the dialysis patients will actually benefit from at a low cost? Because most countries, patients pay for the dialysis, but it's the amount that they pay. Yeah. You get what I mean? So
vis-a-vis, for example, their PPP and the standard of,
So cost I think living. I get all the points that you are, and these are good points that we must obviously take into account going forward. And these are the things that I'm prepared to have a conversation and see how best we'll take this forward. You see, it's not a matter of, okay, NHIS, you cover this, NHIS. Now, even if you say you are setting a separate fund for kidney cancer, what about diabetes, hypertension, stroke? They will be coming. So, you see, there must be a holistic approach. It's not just a case of just talking, I'll set a fund for cancer, I'll set a fund for kidney, as people are advocating. You see, once you do that, the others will come for you, set a fund for this. So, there must be a concrete...
But I do agree. You see, policy must be, it must feed into...
Exactly.
...one another. It can't be, you don't have a hanging policy. A policy is not an island. If it doesn't feed into others, like you said, with the Ghana card and the NHIA, those are the synergies that are needed to ensure that you don't have a hanging, and that's why I feel we still need. But you see, I don't have a kidney-related issue, at least as of the last time I checked. But you look at some of them, and you can't help. There are times I've watched some, and you want to cry.
Yeah, that's true.
Our dialysis crisis, Maxwell Agbagba spoke to a woman. She basically broke down.
Yeah.
Calling on the president, calling on Ghanaians, because they are dying day by day. And sometimes you see your colleague and you can tell that, this person's face is puffy. Yeah. This person hasn't had money to go for dialysis treatment for a while. And it's not even just the dialysis. There are medications they take.
Yeah.
Some, you see that this person, we're around the same borderline, and this person is gone.
Yeah.
Am I next? These things are heartbreaking, and these are places where
I agree.
Any country should be coming through. Because if you can't protect the vulnerable, then in essence, what are you doing? So I get all the points you're making.
I agree.
But
I agree. I think
more ought to be done.
For me, the patients, to me, the feedback I get is they are happy because, you see, half a loaf is better than none. But again, I still believe that more should be done. I agree with you perfectly. And this is why I believe that we must tackle it holistically, as I have explained over and over, because that is what I believe is the solutions to all these crises that we are facing, not only for dialysis, but for the other diseases, okay? So I think, yes, we must be able to provide the support that they need for them. That one, I agree with you. But again, we are also constrained in certain aspects. So let's see how we deal with it going forward. But our subsidy will go a long way to help them as we still continue conversations with government to see what else can be done. But I believe that, and again, I commend the finance minister. I remember he donated some of the equipment in Tamale. You saw, yeah. And I mean, and this is where I also call on the private sector to also come in and see, because in some countries, you see, it cannot always be government. We need them. We need them. It should be. In fact, philanthropic support in countries like the UK, the US, is really real. You see, the Melinda Gates, they are donating. So where are the billionaires in Ghana? They must be able to donate some of these to support the...
Should I tell you? Should I tell you?
Well, I don't know, please. No, let's not. I'm only calling.
Oh, I want to tell you.
To support.
A lot of them are buying fancy cars and living.
So they must come. They must come along and really support, because I think that to say we must be sensitive to some of these things, and I believe that government, private, and also philanthropic, corporate Ghana must be able to come in and support in times of need, because we must be taking care of our vulnerable. Like I said, we cannot leave the vulnerable in distress.
Let's talk about innovation before we cap off the conversation. Innovation is basically every day you must innovate. Some say you must run as fast as possible just to stay where you were yesterday. And in different facets, but also, for example, in building up the number of subscribers, because as more people latch on, I mean, different dynamics. How are you innovating so far, and what are your prospects for the future?
Thank you. As you can see, all the things that I've talked about,
they all feed
novel. You see, and I mean, though I must say that some were ongoing, but you see, I've just amplified it in such a way that it will really come along to support. Innovation is good. And I think it's just a case that we must continue to obviously support the innovation. It's not that you've just said it as new or novel, but there must be the stakeholders also supporting it in such a way that it gets successfully implemented, or comes to friction, or it becomes a success. So for me, the NHI at this point is innovating based on the reforms that are being, and we are more people-centered, and we believe that these new things that we are bringing on board, when it's supported by all stakeholders, including the media, the development partners, and our clients, and the Ghanaian people, it will go a long way to change the overall architecture of healthcare delivery in the country.
I'm interested, though. This thought just came to mind. I know it is in the domain of the Ministry of Health and the Ghana Health Service, but do you have anything to do with vaccines, for example? And I ask that from the perspective of, you know, cervical cancer, for example, has a vaccine. And now malaria also has its own.
Great.
I ask from those angles. Are we looking at vaccines as well?
Yep, you are right. In fact, we do provide funds to some of the counterpart funding for the vaccines. If you look, the Ministry of Health do have about 10% of their budget on the NHI, and those are the areas. So the vaccines and the counterpart funding that we provide. But again, yes, you are right. Those ones also fit into, because vaccines are also preventive. So those are the things that we really need to integrate properly on the NHIS in such a way that we are getting the full, do you get what I mean? So I think it will come along. I mean, like I said, let's start from somewhere. All those things will come along. But I must say that the vertical programs are also helping. They are helping a lot. So that's the immunization program from the Ghana Health Service is actually helping a lot, and the other interventions. So we do support those vaccines as well. Commodities, actually, commodities, basically.
I would take your final words, but before that, we wish you the best, because health is crucial to any country, and we wish for better times. Sometimes when we bring some of you here and we put you on the spot, it's not because we enjoy it, but because we want to get thoughts percolating on the crucial issues so that the generality of Ghanaians can benefit from what we ought to be benefiting from. Sometimes I look at some things and feel Ghana has no business being here if some things were being managed properly. Final words, Dr.
Okay, so I think I thank you for inviting me, but again, I must say that we need the support of the Ghanaian people in obviously implementing these reforms that we are introducing. At the end of the day, we are here to serve the Ghanaian people, and the NHIS will actually do exactly that. There are things that we believe that are not going well in terms of illegal payments in our facilities. We will plead with facility heads to actually put a stop to it. We know the challenges that they are facing. We are on the table dialoguing. So at the end of the day, let's dialogue well. Let's make sure that we review the tariffs in such a way that it will inure to their benefit and also to the benefit of the patients. But we don't believe that if we have a contract with you, and even if we are not able to meet, definitely we'll pay. So you do not need to, obviously, charge the patients. Let's put the patients first. And come back to us and say that, okay, you have incurred this, and we reimburse.
Dr. Abuaje, we'll sew it up here. We're grateful for your time, and we wish you the very best once more. That is Dr. Da Costa Abuaje, the CEO of the National Health Insurance Authority. Stay with us. There's still more action to come on the AM show. We'll also try to get you that feed as the Finance Minister, Dr. Amin Adam, addresses the nation on the state of our finances and more. You want to stay for that. We'll be right back on the AM show.
Welcome back from that all-important conversation and talking about our healthcare financing and everything really that matters to us when it comes to health or national health insurance here in Ghana. Now, before we bring you that feed from the Finance Ministry, let's chat a bit about the Big Chef, children who are making magic with meals. In the studio with me this morning is Michelle Ejekum, the presenter for Big Chef. Michelle, you look good as always. It's good to have you in the studio.
Good to be here.
How is it going with Big Chef?
Oh, in fact, it's been amazing from episode 1 of season 3 till now. We're almost in the finale, and trust me, it's been, I want a better word to use, because amazing seemed to me as though it's not, but it's
any of the children blackmailed you emotionally yet that you have a favorite?
Sweetie.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I was there with this season 1 and season 2.
I know.
So I know how they can get.
Oh,
you have a favorite?
I love all of them.
Yeah.
They're all my favorites.
Okay. Would you say the competition has been tough on them? Has it, have they been forced to mature over time? Share that experience with us.
Yes, I will say that it has been tough.
Okay.
Despite the fact that they know how to cook, they know their way around the kitchen, I don't think that was enough for them, because they had to go through challenges. There was even an episode where they had to cook with ingredients they had no idea about.
Yeah.
So you get into the kitchen, that was a mystery basket, and then you need to prepare something. And they were forced to be innovative. You cannot just give us the regular things or the regular foods that we eat at home. You always need to elevate it to make sure that you're keeping, you're keeping your spot in the show, and also impressing the judges.
If you don't impress the judges and your audience, they'll kick you out. So what stage are we on now?
Oh, so we're actually heading to the finale, and the finale is actually on Sunday.
Oh, this Sunday. Glad I caught you. I would have missed it. So tell me what to expect come Sunday on the Big Chef season finale.
Yeah, so before we started season 3, we kept screaming we're going to do something incredible, something, way better. We were stepping up our game. And so the finale, we were going back to, not so to the ancient time, but of course, we're going all traditional. The meals they're going to cook will be traditional dishes, and even the setup and everything. So on the finale, we will not just have the kids cook on the cooking stove or gas that they usually use. This time around, they will be cooking on the coal pot with charcoal, try to, put them up themselves and then cook the traditional meals that we know, like the pepper and sa, the eto, and all of that. And this time around, they will be doing a 3-course meal. And so the finale promises to be amazing, spectacular, and all the good, exciting words that you would want to use. Yeah.
Guests that will be gracing the grand finale come Sunday. I know you always have someone, some mysterious personality.
But you just made me sad.
Why?
It's the time that we cannot play loud music, we cannot drum,
Okay, yeah.
So, but yes, though we're not going to have, musicians or artists come around to play, we also have, we've developed a very special way of entertaining audiences that will be there live on Sunday. And so I wouldn't want to give that all out. So just come and be expectant to have fun.
How many of these children graduated to the finale, though?
Oh, we have 6 of them.
6?
And out of 12.
Yeah.
And just like last season, we had 1 boy in the finale. This season, we have just a boy as well. Yeah, so 5 girls, 1 boy.
I like that. I like that. Oh, no. I mean, girls...
We started with 4 boys, so I was hoping maybe at least 2 of them, But
it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
Anyway, thank you so much, Michelle. But anything you've left out, any details that you need to give us for the finale?
Yes, so I'd like to remind viewers that the finale is this Sunday, and we'll be coming away live from the Joy FM car park. And so you're invited. You can come and then support your favorite. You've been watching them for a while, so I'm sure you have your favorite. And then you make sure that you're voting for them. This time around, I mean, during the finales, we actually allow our audiences to also have a say.
Okay.
Yes, and so you can just dial this, the code *711 *60#, and then you follow the prompt to vote for your favorite.
Please take that again.
Yes, so it's *711 *60#, and then you vote for your favorite. And then you can also come and support them. So at 5 p.m., we're live on television.
And it's free, right?
It's
so
free.
Right here at the Joy FM premises.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe when you come, you get to taste their food, and then, you can confirm what the judges also say.
If I come, I must taste the food, Michelle.
Why not?
All right, so that's it about the Big Chef season finale. This is season 3 of children creating amazing meals and delicacies in the kitchen. You don't want to miss that grand finale on Sunday at 5 o'clock, whether in person or on Joy Prime channel. You have to follow us and enjoy the show. Right, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll bring you that feed from the finance minister addressing the country. Welcome back on the AM show. Final leg of our conversations this morning before we wrap it up. Let's talk about the 2024 Accountants Week celebration scheduled for 24th to 31st of May 2024. Now, every industry is actually built on the economy of things, and you need an accountant to make sure that your books are in check. In the studio with me this morning is Joyce Opoku Dodu, who is the Director of Finance and Administration at the Institute of Chartered Accountants, and Osei Ajayi Jemfi, the Director of Technical and Research. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having us.
When you go out and you say you're an accountant, what's the reaction you often get? Do people say, hey, you're accountants?
There's mixed feelings.
Mixed feelings.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about your week-long celebration. What is the purpose of this week-long celebration? Osei?
Okay, I'll pick
you want to take that?
I'll take that one.
Yeah,
okay. So the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana is a member of IFAC, Federation of Accountants.
Okay.
Okay. So
That's the International Federation.
Yes, International Federation of Accountants.
Right.
So as part of the regulations of the federation, we are supposed, every professional body is supposed to create a forum for its members to discuss pertinent issues happening in the economy in which they operate.
Right.
So we have taken the opportunity and leverage on this as part of the regulation to meet annually to look at what is happening in our economy and create themes that we'll go and discuss at the Forum of Chartered Accountants. Okay. And it's not only chartered accountants that meet at this forum, but we also invite business executives, decision makers, politicians, and to come and join us so that we have a discourse on the issues pertaining to our economy. At the end of the day, we come out with recommendations that we give out to the institutions that are supposed to implement this recommendations.
Okay. Mr. JJMF, then I'm sure this is not the first time you're doing this. So this year, what's different? So what's the theme for your celebration this year? And how did you even arrive at that choice of a theme?
Yes, the theme is building a resilient, adaptable, and sustainable accountancy profession. And rightly so, because if you look at the world stage, many businesses, if not all, have been battered by one crisis after another. And there's a need for these businesses to build resilient strategies. For them to be able to do so, they have to be adaptable so that they can ensure sustainable business practices.
Okay.
And in the heart of all this is the accountant. Yes. Because accountants is concerned about the sustainability of every business. And so we chose this theme to help businesses and accountants to respond to the crisis, and also recover from the crisis, and then reimagine. So how would they do that? Now, once you enter into a crisis, indeed, many businesses are in the crisis management mode because the crisis, there's no end in sight. We don't know where it will end. We've been thinking about another COVID that is emerging. We don't know what it is. And so for a business to be sustainable, they have to develop strategies that will make them very resilient and then also adapt to the changes to ensure that they are sustainable for the future.
Okay, so it's a great step in the right direction. What are it's a week-long celebration. What are some of the activities, Joyce, that you have lined up to celebrate your annual week celebration? Yeah.
Okay, so we are starting from today, actually, with a prayer.
So your breaking comes today here on Joy News.
Yes. So we will be meeting at the mosque and have a prayer session.
At the mosque?
Yes, at the Kandam Mosque. I think that we have members in various religions, so at least we want to acknowledge some of the major ones. So we'll have that. And normally our week celebration starts with Thanksgiving. So we'll do the prayer this afternoon and we'll be honored to be hosted by the Chief Imam himself.
I asked because I'm just impressed. Most people would do the church first, then the mosque. So I'm just...
Because today is a Friday, and then our week actually starts from the end of the week.
Right.
So we are starting with the mosque, and then tomorrow we'll have our walk at the Bema camp and some activities there. Okay. And then from there, on Sunday, we'll go to the church for Thanksgiving. And normally we go to the President's Church, Madam Senna Dake's church, which is Christ the King Church. So we'll be at Christ the King Church. The main conference will be on Tuesday, and that will be at Koforidua Capital View Hotel. We are honored to have our sector minister as our special guest of honor, Honorable Dr. Yawose Educhum, the Minister of Education will be there. The IFAC president, the International Federation of Accountants president, Ms. Asma Resmoki, will also be joining us. Okay. She'll be arriving from the United States to join us. And also, we are honored to have the Omahini of New Juabin, traditional area, Dasibre Nana Kwekubuatin III, who will also be there. So it's really going to be a very packed session. And we'll break into our plenary sessions during the day after the opening ceremony. And then in the evening, the Omahini is hosting us to a traditional night.
Wow. Who is invited?
All of you.
Okay.
And all our members are invited. It's a time to learn about the tradition of the New Juabin traditional area. Right. So we'll be doing that. And the next day is another conference day, which is the Wednesday. We'll continue with our sessions to discuss the topics that Mr. Osei has just mentioned.
Okay.
So we'll just continue with the discussion. And at the end of the day, we'll have the closing ceremony.
Okay.
Yes. So, yes, and then in the evening, we have what we call the AWAG night. The AWAG night is Association of Women Accountants. We'll have our night, and we invite our gentlemen to also join us to have our night. And this is also to mentor the young ladies, that it is possible for a woman to be a chartered accountant.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, if the week celebration had gone on without any specific day dedicated to women, I would have asked why. But I'm sure some of our audience would like to get in touch, want to find out more information. How do they contact you in case they want to even partner with you or sponsor some of your activities? Okay. So before that, you can give me just a minute to just go through our sponsors. Okay.
Because
you already have sponsors.
we have a lot of them, and we will still ask for more. But let me mention those that have done us that honors. So we have KPMG, we have Deloitte, we have SIC Life, we have Clarom Health International, TGTS Africa, we have PwC, National Insurance Commission, ACCA is there with us, Star Assurance, Roberts and Sons. I want to also indicate that this year we have one of the side attractions being our health screening, which is very important. Okay. Roberts and Sons and other health organizations will be there to help us with health screening. Okay. We have Casa Preco, UI is there, GMPC, Global Wings, Back Press, Caseware, GT Bank, Nafas RN Ventures, Daddy's Bar, Zenith Bank, Priority Insurance, SEMA, John K. & Co., Volta Hotel, Coronation Insurance, Enterprise Life, and of course, Multimedia Group is there has been there to support us all the way, and Graphic Communication Group. So in case anybody wants to also sponsor, and especially organizations that are benefiting from the services of our chartered accountants, yes, we want you to come on board, pitch camp with us, and let's have a very fruitful celebration. You can call us on 020-8920-373 or 024-355-1788.
Thank you so much. And you have like a few seconds to add your voice to
maybe
that.
I want to run through some of the topics that will be
sure. Yeah.
Best.
But
so
do that briefly.
That's from CFO to CEO. How do accountants transition? Then sustainable reporting, greenwashing, and what accountants should know. Then entrepreneurial pathway for young accountants, job security and access to finance. Then anti-corruption and economic crime, lesson from IFAC action plan. Then building trust and the tax administration for sustainable future, the role of accountants, and then financial accountability and transparency index. Then finally, fostering healthy well-being among accounting professionals.
Okay.
You can't be left
Those
out
are
of
very
this.
interesting topics.
Very
so
interesting
even if you're not an accountant and you want to participate, please do well to attend this week-long celebration. Yeah. Thank you so much, Joyce Opoku-Dodu and Mr. Osei Ajayi Jemfi. Joyce is Director of Finance and Administration, and Mr. Osei Jemfi is Director of Technical and Research. It was a pleasure having you in the studio, and all the best.
Thank you for having us.
Right, but before we go, a happy birthday from Benjamin Akakbo, of course, my co-host, and he's wishing his brother, he says, kindly wish my brother Isaac Kwabena Ofori Amwako, popularly called Ike City, a happy birthday in advance. He celebrates his birthday tomorrow. Oh, from Kwame Appiah Kubi. So the message is from Kwame Appiah Kubi through Benjamin to you, Ike City. Have a happy birthday tomorrow. Also, before we wrap up for this Friday edition and for the week, we have the photo of the day coming up. There you have it. That's a photo of the day from the Caleb Mensah. This is Kenke on wheels. Very innovative and creative. If Muhammad will not go to the mountain must go to Muhammad. So if the Kenke is too far away from you, this lovely lady is bringing the Kenke to you. And on that note, we're wrapping up the AM show right here on the Joy News channel. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and I did this with Benjamin Akakbo. We're back on your screens next week, Monday, 6 a.m. sharp. You want to make a date. Bye for now.